Here we are. Okay, I guess we're live. I don't know who's here. It says there are 4 people here. I don't expect a million people to show up, so we won't wait too long, but we'll see if some more people trickle in. Feel free to say hi. Let me know that you're here. Major announcement today. Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. That's great. Successfully reconnected. Fernando is here. Mr. Pretzel is here. Hello, hello. ¿Cómo estás, Fernando? And Mr. Pretzel, how are you? Oh boy. Stremmy guy, hello, hello. I don't remember seeing you in any of the previous streams from a year ago, so I don't know how new you are here. How's it going? It's actually kind of hard to answer right now, but overall, really good, really good. Yeah. Last night was kind of rough, but good. I've never thought I'd ask you something. Well, go ahead. Yeah. Or I guess how's it going was already a question, so maybe that's what you're referencing. But I don't know what these new things are in the chat. It says, it has like, looks like a crown and it says number 1, number 2. I don't know what that means. But apparently you guys are winning something. You don't even know how you helped me. Well, I'm glad. Good. That was the whole purpose. Well, I mean, aside from trying to make a little bit of money on the side, but yeah. Give you guys everything for free, all my secrets, all my everything. Which, while we're here, after I make my announcement, I can go over a couple more updates that have happened in the course. There's one big, major update that is just like destroying people's foreign accents. It's not like a magic pill overnight, but I think I've finally found like the exact path to develop your accent in American English. It's mind-blowingly effective. So we can cover that if you guys want. If you want, right? You're only here to learn English. Let's see. I started practicing my accent in like November or October, and I asked my American friend if you sound like a native American speaker, and he said you do. I would hope so, because I am. You know. But it's good. November, October. So you kind of just missed when I was doing live streams, because I was like last August, I think, was the last one. Stopped making videos almost altogether as well. So, and that's actually related to the news that we have today. Let's see. I want to leave you guys in anticipation as we hopefully get a few more people in here. Tomás, welcome. Good to see you again. Hello, Oscar. How are you? Were you born in the U.S.? Yes, I am an American citizen. I was born here. I was raised here. I've never left the country, actually. I've wanted to, but I've never been able to for various reasons. In the future, I may have to, in the near future. Also related to the news that I'm going to tell you guys. But yeah, no, I'm from California. I don't have a California accent because I just don't have a California accent. Can't wait to hear the ultimate secret. Okay, we'll cover that after my announcement then. I have a couple hours that I set aside for this, so we have plenty of time. But yeah, I'm from California. Let's see. Don't waste your time on me. So I don't have a California accent, right? I kind of have to, and it's not even very stable. Like sometimes I'll go into like a Southern accent or an Australian accent, but like Californians is sort of like stereotypical California accent, like bruh, like surfer bruh, right? They sound kind of like this more. They have slight tweaks to the mouth posture, a little bit of different placement on some of the vowels, especially in the back. And I don't sound like that because I have a general American accent, the Western version of the general American accent, but there are very minor differences. Remember, we have multiple neutral accents with slight little changes. That's why most people across the country sound pretty much identical for the most part. Kind of an impressive feat when you think of how big the United States is. But okay. Anyway, let's see. You see, I practice all the sounds in your ear training course, and even though I kind of hear I sound pretty good, there's still something that makes me sound Russian, I guess. Yeah, that's probably mouth posture. I don't know if you've seen any of my mouth posture videos. Which for anybody who hasn't heard, I did make a sort of a course update video like a couple months ago. And if you haven't seen that video, the original videos in the course were staying up to here. Okay, thank you, Martin. If you're the same Martin that I know, then I will be seeing you later for class. So make sure you get some sleep. I think your class is today, isn't it? But yeah, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. It doesn't matter. Oh yeah, posture. Go check out posture. But the original videos, I think it's posture too. Yeah, the original videos, like the original course, where you like phase 0, phase 1, like that basic structure is still there. But if you work with me directly, everything is kind of like optimized and like a lot of there's a lot of details. There's nothing that's wrong in the videos, but a lot of those details, like some of them, I don't really talk about too much anymore. Because I made those videos as I was like discovering and exploring and testing things, which I'm still always trying to optimize. But yeah, the most efficient, effective version of the course is to work directly with me. But anyway, yes, okay. Well, hi, Martin. I will see you later as well. I mean, you could technically go to sleep. I could just tell you in class. That's not that big of a deal. But thank you for being here, for sure. We're going to get to the announcement in a second here. So like I need to focus on my posture. Yes, posture. Posture isn't the only part of accent, but it's like 80 to 90% of it. It's the core of the accent. If you don't have the posture, you cannot sound native. It doesn't matter if your rhythm is perfect, if your your breathing mechanics are perfect, everything else, like your articulation, placement, and shaping could be perfect, but the posture is going to make the quality of the sound still sound different. So yeah, you need the posture. Posture essentially is accent. Like I try to pronounce sounds and they sound like I'm a native, but when I speak, my voice is Russian, though the sounds are American. There could be a little bit of a voice issue that's related, but not necessarily the same. It's probably still rooted in posture. Like the mouth posture isn't just the mouth; it also like goes into like the throat and deals with like voice placement and breath mechanics as well. I integrate the whole thing into one big piece. But thank you. You're welcome. I heard you wrote some books. Are they available online? They might be. There's probably a link somewhere. I closed down my Amazon account, which is also partially related to the announcement, but we won't go into that. I'm still getting royalties from them, so I assume they're still up, but I deleted my account, so I don't really have any access to it anymore. So there might be a link in the description, either in this or in some other video, to like my Amazon books. If it still works, go ahead and purchase them. If it doesn't, then sorry, they're no longer available. Maybe I'll make them available later. Okay, let's get to the announcement. There are 13 people here. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, this is the hard part. Notice I have a slinky. This is actually a tool that I use in the class. It has to do with step 10 of the 1 through 10 posture process. But I'm deflecting. Yeah, we're here. Good. Welcome. Okay, so I'm so super nervous, guys. Like, because what I'm about to tell you is going to lose me subscribers, guaranteed. I know that a lot of you are, probably going to still want to support the channel nonetheless, but I know I'm going to lose a lot of subscribers. I know that some people are not going to want to work with me due to this update, and I know that maybe even some current students that I have are going to drop me. I don't think so. I think all of my current students are pretty cool. But you never know. You never know with this topic. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. I'll go ahead and say it. I am trans. Yeah, I'm trans. Still feels kind of weird to say. It's always scary to come out. I've already had family issues because of this. I probably can't talk about certain things without getting emotional, because it's hard to talk out loud about some things. But yes, I'm trans. So if you want to unsubscribe or leave, then that's fine. Go ahead. If you don't want to work with me because of that, then okay, that's fine. But yeah, and I have, you can't see it, but actually I can flip my camera around here. I have a trans flag there. You can see my background. I got all the cool stuffed animals. There's a blahaj or blowhigh, if you're familiar. Nice little IKEA shark there. Sailor Moon, Powerpuff Girls. Obviously, most of it's Pokemon. I like Pokemon. But yeah, you can also maybe tell I'm wearing eyeliner. I don't have a lot of makeup on right now. Who cares? You're a professional. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, like I know a lot of people are pretty open-minded and stuff about it these days, but obviously there's also a lot of backlash and controversy and whatever. And I actually, so back when I stopped making videos, like in like my last live stream, I told you guys, hey, there's like some big, gigantic life event happening, and I'm gonna stop making videos, and I don't know if I'm gonna come back to the channel, and blah 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 blah. This is what that was. I spent 8 years struggling against it. In hindsight, there were definitely signs when I was younger, but nobody noticed. Nobody in my family noticed, and I always kind of swept it under the rug. I experienced some sort of deep trauma around the age of like 5 or 6. I'm still trying to piece that together, but I know it's there. I have enough evidence and memory for it. I just don't know what exactly happened. And my theory is that that caused me to become insanely repressed and very internally transphobic, like a lot of internalized transphobia. And basically, the message that my 5-year-old brain got, for whatever reason, whatever happened, it might not have been a single event, but what ended up happening is my brain somehow got the message that in order to be safe and in order to be worthy of love, I couldn't even be aware of who I was. I had to bury it very, very, very deep. And then when I was 27, long story short, I came upon a video that flipped a switch in my brain. I already knew that trans people existed and stuff. It's not like I didn't know the concept, but I didn't have a lot of the concepts like dysphoria, gender dysphoria, all that stuff. It turns out I had been experiencing that my entire life in multiple ways, socially, physically. I just didn't know what it was. So anyway, and then I spent the next 8 years from about 27 to 35, so up to last year. I'm going to be 36 in less than a month. Yay. Fighting it. It would come up against my will, and then I would push it down, and I would think I was mentally ill. I'd throw away the makeup that I bought and the clothes that I bought and feel very shameful and disgusted. And a little while later, it would come back up again against my will. And I'd go and experiment and explore some more, and then eventually I'd feel disgusted and shameful, and I'd throw away all the things. Like I bought the same skirt the same basic skirt on Amazon like 5 times. You guys don't know. And that's actually a common thing in people who sort of wake up late to their transness. It's called the shame purge cycle. So I went through that hell for about 8 years. Most of the time I had the channel, so I was kind of suffering with this in the background the entire time that you guys have known me. And then last year, again, long story short, I don't want to go into all the details because it doesn't matter, but there was an event that happened where we call it the egg, right? Somebody who's trans but doesn't really realize it, or doesn't, like, maybe they suspect but they haven't like accepted it. They're called an egg because they're like an unborn chicken or something, right? Unborn bird. And then your egg starts to crack and you kind of start to like, okay, yeah, I think I'm suspecting I might be trans. And then you hatch and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm trans. And so there was one day after this event happened where I just like I realized I texted my friend, the only person who knew. The only reason she knew is because when I first started exploring it, I stole her bra to try on, and I forgot to put it back because she was on vacation. So she found out that way, but I had told nobody else. And so she knew, and I texted her, and I just said I don't think I want to be a guy anymore. I've never been a guy, because I'm trans. I thought I was a guy. I was, anyway, I can go into all kinds of details. Like, I don't really know how to be a guy. I would always be looking for like, like a lot of it was subconscious, but I'd be like, how do guys walk? How do guys talk? How do guys like this or that, whatever? And I'd always be like, actually looking out for like the way that other guys behave and socialize in order to try to mimic it. But for most of my life, I wasn't consciously aware of that. I started becoming consciously aware of that around the time that my egg cracked. And then I'm like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. But anyway, that aside, I can go into all kinds of details. But my egg it didn't just hatch. My egg exploded. Like a nuclear bomb was dropped on it. And I had this moment where I was sitting in my car. I texted my friend and said, I don't want to be a guy anymore. And I don't know how long it was. It might have been 1 minute. It might have been 5 minutes. It might have been 10 minutes. But I was sitting there in the car and I had all of this like conflicting emotions like anger, disgust, hatred, shame, joy, hope, just all kinds of positive and negative emotions just like in my gut, like fighting. And after I kind of came through that storm, there was a certain point where it literally almost felt like my bones like shook. Like I had literally a mental breakthrough. Like I broke through a wall in my brain that finally allowed me to come to the surface, who I really am. And it was I could almost physically feel it, like a shockwave through my body. It was very intense. Not every trans person experiences that. But and that's one reason why I'm very confident and firm in who I am now, because it was a very, very powerful, unmistakable event. It literally feels like I was reborn or born for the first time in that moment. Like I had just been asleep my entire life, quite literally. And from there, I just continued experimenting and testing, and I started, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into all the details with you guys because most of you probably don't really care that much. And that's not the purpose of the channel. What I will say, a couple things that I will say. When that happened, because I was dealing with that, partially because I was dealing with that, I was like, I can't make videos right now. Like this is too much. This is a big major life thing. I need to focus on this. Number two, at first, I wasn't sure if I even wanted to continue teaching because I kind of felt like that was something that Josh built, not that I built. And that sounds kind of weird. I know that can sound like psychotic language to people. It's not that deep, don't get things twisted. But I go by Felicity now, or Fee for short. You can call me Fee. And I was kind of like, at first I was like, I don't want to do the English thing anymore because that's my old life. But I continued teaching, mostly because I needed the money and I already had a thing going and I didn't want to necessarily just drop it. So I continued teaching. And I'm glad I did, because that kind of went away. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, the English teaching thing is good. It's fine. I had some breakthroughs with the course. I was going to stop teaching at the end of last year, and then I extended it. And I've had several breakthroughs with the course since then. And I'm thinking that it's definitely something that I can and will continue doing. I don't have any plans to leave at the moment, at the very least through the end of the year. But yeah, so just know that I'm kind of all over the place. Like my brain is not focused at all right now. I do have another sort of endeavor that I have started. I have another channel, as well as like a TikTok and an Instagram. And again, I've never been very good at all that stuff, but Medium, the medium.com, sort of like a blogging site, that's actually my main platform. Hello, Duck. uh, but because writing is actually my most effective means of communication, and I talk about my presence, my existence there is Felicity Alexandria. I can give you guys a link if you want, if anybody is interested. It doesn't really matter, but I would just share my screen. I don't think I can do that. Oh, I can. Cool. I thought I needed StreamYard for that. Okay, let's do entire screen. So yeah, I have some things open here, like Felicity Alexandria. So this is me. I'm going to have to open this in a different image, aren't I? Okay. Yeah, this is me, Felicity Alexandria. I have some things here. It's at Fees Dreams. I have a link tree. I'll just copy and paste my link tree. I'm not trying to promote this to you guys. Just anybody who's interested, sure, you can follow along if you want. Save link as. Whoops. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I don't know what I'm doing. My brain isn't working, guys. I'm sorry. Talking to you about this is very much distracting my brain. I need a copy link. There it is. It's like I'm computer illiterate. Okay, that'll give you like my my Medium, my Instagram, my YouTube, blah 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 blah. But yeah, I'm here. I have a podcast. I basically just like take what I wrote and record it and then put it on the podcast, which I'm also reposting to YouTube, just like with the image. I do kind of want to make like actual like separate YouTube videos. I have like shorts and stuff. My whole purpose with it is let me stop sharing. One, to talk about trans issues, push back against a lot of the misinformation and propaganda that's been sort of leading to a lot of problems for us here in the States. But also to kind of just like show my normal everyday life, and that trans people are normal people and we're not sick or perverted or anything like that. We're just normal people who are trying to live our lives and demand equal rights and equal dignity, just like any other group or person would. If you want like my views on like the bathroom issue and things like that, you can go read my Medium or listen to the podcast. But yeah, so there you go. It's out in the open. That's who I am. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. I don't really care. I can answer, just about anything. It took me a while to get to this point. I could also talk about the family issues I've had. One family member told me to kill myself, which was fun. And one other family member, who I've always been the most closest to my entire life since I was born, has had a lot of trouble accepting it. And I can't talk about that because I will end up crying, but it has very deeply traumatized me. And it's going to take me a long time to work through that. Very deeply traumatized me. Anyway, you missed everything. I'm trans. That's all you need to know. Yeah. Let's get to the chat a little bit. Okay, I'll go in order as usual. Could you please tell me how to pronounce and th? I don't care, you're trans. Just tell me how to pronounce things. So yeah, like for the. So you have to know the has a slightly different posture. It modifies the basic posture. It doesn't break it. So you have to know how to do the and how to do the posture for the and then how to uncurl that posture into the regular posture and stretch the front of the tongue forward without using the entire tongue, because our posture is farther back. So to th or th to is a very difficult combination, and it has a lot to do with the posture. So okay, blah 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 blah. I won't unsubscribe or stop learning with you because of that. I appreciate that very much. I expect to lose some people. It is it is what it is. I can't control that. But anybody who is understanding and wants to continue working with me, all the better. I very much appreciate that, and we'll keep going. Um, the only real reason why I'm coming out to you guys right now, um, uh, we could talk a little bit about the future of the channel. I don't plan to come back to making videos right now. I might at some point. Um, I am still working on the course, as I said. I will, give you guys update videos and things like that. But the reason why I'm telling you guys is because a lot of people find me through the channel, and I want to you know, they're gonna find me like on like some mouth posture video or some other video, and then they're gonna go to italki and they're gonna try to sign up. But then I'm at a point where I can't keep living presenting male anymore. Like it's taking a gigantic toll on my mental health, and it has been for the last like 6 months, increasingly, to the point where like I used to break down like once a month or so, once every 1 to 2 months. That did increase to about once or twice a month instead of once every 1 to 2 months. And then over the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I've broken down like 3 times. And that's already with me like starting to put on makeup, starting like I'm not fully like I'm still kind of presenting male, but like I'm wearing uh you know like female jeans, female cut. Right now I'm wearing a t-shirt, but I have like some more women cut tops and stuff, which I can't fully wear without wearing some sort of like um, jacket over it, like my jean jacket or whatever, because I'm not quite there yet. But uh, I just, for the sake of my mental health, like I wanted to just like, hey, now I'm transitioned. I can't hide it anymore. So now I'm going to start presenting female and come out to the world. And that's not working. Like at first I couldn't understand how like a trans woman could just like wear makeup and put on a dress even though they look still like a man. Like I was kind of transphobic about it. Um because to me that was very uncomfortable. There's no way I could do that. I couldn't go out in public like that, and I still can't quite do that, but I'm a lot closer than I was. And I understand now that the toll that it takes on your mental health, continuing to wear that mask and pretend to be who you're not on a daily basis, and constantly being referred to he, him, sir, this, that. It's like, and if you're presenting male, it's like people don't know. They're just like, so I can't blame them. But yeah, it's very devastating on your mental health, especially the longer you try to keep that up. So yeah, I'm gonna start just kind of like doing what I want to do on a daily basis. And if you take classes with me and you show up to classes and I, look a certain way, that's why. Okay, so I don't want anybody to be surprised when they work with me. If you go to the my italki profile, I'm going to be updating it. It's not updated yet, but I'm going to be updating it to a new picture, new name. I'm probably going to change the picture on the channel as well, the profile picture for the channel, because I'm so tired of looking at that picture. It's just, it makes me feel so uncomfortable. um, anyway, let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Really happy you decided to open up to us. Yes. Thank you for that. Just show us your channel on TikTok, Facebook. I'm going to follow it. Okay. So, yeah, well, as I said, there's the link tree. So if you follow the link tree, you can find everything through that. Joseph makes a flat face. And later says, we love you anyways. Okay. Good. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. See, you put a little emoji like that. It's like, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But yeah, let's see. That's tough. Yes, it is very tough, unfortunately. Poor me. I'm definitely not coming out to you guys for pity or anything. It's just, we got to understand. This is where I'm at now, and we got to understand the reality. So I feel so sorry for you. It's okay to be your true self. I appreciate that. And I get the sympathy. I don't really want people to feel sorry for me necessarily. Obviously, just being trans and having gender dysphoria is a terrible, terrible thing. Not all trans people have gender dysphoria, by the way. That's a different topic. But I definitely have gender dysphoria very bad. and increasingly so. But yeah, if anything, I would feel sorry for us due to the political climate and the like. It would be one thing if it were based on reality and facts, but none of the things that you hear in the media is accurate. None of it's true. I know it's very controversial and this and that, whatever. But again, I talk about all that on my Medium blog and stuff. If you guys want to see my perspective on that. Just can't do it. Shrizzy says just can't do that. Do it. So I guess that means you cannot support who I am and you will be unsubscribing, in which case, okay. I don't know if that's related to something else I was saying or if it's just no. Okay. See, you need context, especially if I'm not reading your reactions in real time. I was talking about the bunch star. Okay, that's funny. I forgot this is an English teaching channel. Sorry. Good. Thank you for the clarification. Storm guy, I noticed that some natives kind of drop the th in, even though it's not that we drop it. You can't drop it, but we can do a common replacement for the th is to do a dental T or D. You'll hear teachers say that doesn't exist or it's wrong or whatever, but you'll hear it in the news and you'll hear it in movies and you'll hear it all the time. It's a normal part of how we speak. When it's linking with an N, then instead of doing because it's a voiced th, you can go into a dental N and then push out a dental D, even though that's fine. But in that specific case where it's N to th, you can actually drop even the dental D and just release a dental N. You say even though, no, and it'll sound perfectly natural to us. So technically, yes, we can drop it, but we're not dropping the th itself. We're kind of just like modifying the N into that dental position using the variation of the dental T and D, and then just not doing the dental D and releasing the N instead. And it's close enough that we don't notice any difference. If they speak quickly. Yeah, even though. When you're going to go back, I will never unsubscribe. I can't, come back, not go back, because I'm coming back to where we are now, right? I will never unsubscribe. I can't wait till then. Can wait, can't wait. Maybe you can wait. I don't know. But yes, good. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Maybe you could live in a country that won't judge you and welcome you. Vietnam was always. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's good to know. I don't know the attitudes in a lot of places. Obviously, Thailand is very accepting. And apparently now in Thailand, you can just like walk into a pharmacy and buy estrogen, which is amazing. And that's how it should be everywhere, because when trans people tell you who we are, believe us, the stats show that detransitioners are actually very, very, very rare. And it's like the people who seek out trans healthcare are like literally 99.5% trans people. Sometimes we detransition due to social pressure, due to lack of money, due to family issues, and then we'll retransition later. That's like most of detransitions, is like it's temporary. So when we tell you who we are who we are. I believe in full bodily autonomy for every individual on the planet. I don't care if you're male, female, trans, cisgender, anything. You should be able to do whatever you want with your body. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world. Rasha Sami, $1.99. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I didn't expect to get any any donations today, but that's a very welcome surprise. Thank you very much. Anyway, yeah, back to the chat. I'm always behind on the chat. It doesn't matter if I'm talking about English or not. But yeah, obviously the United States was a very welcoming country for the most part. And now we're going through a regressive fascist takeover. So that's fun. That I deal with that in the back of my mind every day. It really sucks. Like accepting and realizing that you're trans literally 3 months before a presidential election that turned out the way it did. Bad time to come out. Bad time to realize who you are. But after my egg exploded. Like literally, there's no shell left. I can't go back, even if I wanted to. So it is how it is, and I'm afraid. I'm literally afraid. I have the thought in the back of my mind. I'm not sitting here like cowering in the corner every day. I'm trying to live my life, but constantly in the back of my mind, like if I hear a knock at the door, I'm like, is that the Gestapo? Is that ICE? Is that, you know? So I'm living in fear here, for sure, and I'm trying to just kind of get by, live my life. I was hiding. I like deleted my old Facebook. I didn't have any socials. Obviously, I wasn't talking about this online or anything. I was hiding because I was very scared, and I reached a point about a month ago where I was just like, I can't. Like I feel strong enough in myself now that I have to express who I am, and I have to like fight back against this. And if that means that I become targeted and end up in a concentration camp, which is unfortunately a reality in today's America, it's already happening to immigrants, perfectly innocent immigrants. We're going through an ethnic cleansing in this country, and it has to stop. I don't think that they're going to come for us until after the 2026 midterms, because Trump wants to use us as a political pawn. He's said that publicly. So I'm not super worried, but if we don't win the 2026 midterm and completely remove all of this nonsense, I'm seriously considering going to Canada, just for my own safety. Anyway, think happy thoughts. Does this change in your life make you feel better or more comfortable in the long run? I mean, considering all the pros and cons, especially how people often take it. Yeah, so the thing that you have to understand about trans people, and I can't speak for all trans people necessarily, but the common thread is, and this is very much the case for me, if you're trans, especially if you have really, really bad dysphoria like I do, you, as much as you don't want to, as much as it's unfortunate, as much pain as it's going to cause, if you had the choice between, okay, continue to be who you're not and keep your life, keep your business, keep your family, keep everything the way it's always been. Everything on the outside seems perfectly fine. You have all your social connections, you have everything. Verse on the other side, these are the two extremes, right? Verse on the other side, being who you are. Because if you don't be who you are, you're literally going to end up killing yourself. That's the reality. Like people think this is a choice. It's not a choice. And I'm getting emotional. Who knows? Maybe I'll cry today. That'd be cool. You guys can see me cry. But it's not a choice. It's far from a choice. And if you ask me, at least, I know this is a lot of trans people will say the same. But if you ask me, I don't want to lose family. I don't want to lose friends. I don't want to lose business opportunities. I don't want to lose anything. And the fact that I have to face that reality is really shitty and unfortunate. That's the world we live in. But if you said, hey, you're going to lose everything, like guaranteed, push this button and you will lose everything. Everything. You will become homeless. You will lose all your family. You will lose all your friends. I would push that button because it's either that or I eventually end up offing myself. In fact, the only thing that is allowing me to function at all, like literally at all, and not harm myself in any way is little blue pill, estrogen. I'm also on Spiro to suppress my testosterone. I've been medically transitioning since last September. It's been almost a year, and I haven't had a lot of changes, as you can tell. Unfortunately, my hair has grown out, my skin has gotten a little softer, my body hair is growing a little slower, but I have almost no development here, unfortunately, which is very frustrating. And that's part of why I broke down last night. But now that I've moved, I'm in a new place. I'm establishing care with a new doctor in 11 days. Unfortunately, I had to wait like 2 months just to be seen because, I live in an area now where there's a lot of us. But I'm hoping that I can either get an increase in my dosage or maybe switch to injections, which I really don't want to do. But if that's what it comes to, I will inject myself, as often as it takes. I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, no, that's the only reason why I'm able to function is because I am in the process of transitioning and I'm expecting changes to happen. I know it takes a long time. I know it's very slow. um, and because it's been a year almost without many changes, that's also weighing a lot on my mental health. And I've been trying to work on my voice. I'm not going to try to do it for you guys here. I think that's another selling point, which is cool because it's like, hey, not only can I tell you how to switch your posture, I can tell you how to sound like a girl. you know, if anybody's interested in that. But my girl voice is terrible right now, so I'm not even going to try it because it just makes me uncomfortable. Like speaking to you guys now, I'm used to talking and I'm used to talking to you guys and stuff. But if I pay attention to my voice and instead of what I'm talking about, I've always hated my voice. And I never knew why, but I've always hated my voice. And it makes me not want to speak at all. But I have to. Literally speaking is like my job. Well, helping you speak is my job, but I have to speak to help you speak. So, I kind of just have to kind of like deal with it. Anyway, so that's coming. Eventually you'll hear me talk like a girl. Hopefully I can master it. It's so hard. Like I have so much empathy for you guys trying to get the posture because like I don't need to change my posture. I need to like change other things so I can change the gender of my voice. And it is so incredibly hard. I hate it so much. I wish I didn't have to do it. Technically I don't have to. But I really, really, really want to. I hate my voice so much. So I'm working on that on the side. Anyway, but yeah, so whatever the pros and cons are, there's no con great enough. Some people who like they already have a family and this and that, and like then they realize they're trans. Often often they'll come out and unfortunately sometimes lose that. But others say, I'm okay with suffering. I'd rather keep my family. Maybe their dysphoria isn't as bad, or maybe that's just, the cost benefit analysis that they particularly specifically came to, and that's what they're going to try to do. And so it's a little different for everybody, but the general thing is like, like literally, even if I end up getting thrown in a concentration camp, like I have to be who I am. I don't have a choice. I'm gonna Charlie. Another of my beautiful students, life is too short to not be your authentic self, so I'm happy for you. If you're still here, thank you. Yes, I know it takes me a while to get to the comments. I'm sorry, but yes, I much appreciate that. So at this point, before I came out to all you guys, I had come out in the last week to two of my students that I thought would be understanding and receptive. I don't see everybody every week, unfortunately. I I got to see you usually about once a week at least for me to consistently work with you. But yeah, based on vibes, both of them have been accepting, which I much appreciate. So thank you to you guys. It's all good. Good. Are you shaking or something? Probably. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm shaking too much, but talking about this is very emotional, gets me riled up. And the thing that I'm doing, I don't know if you see, I'm playing with a slinky. So if it looks like I'm like, that's just because I'm playing with a slinky. It's this thing, slinky. Anyway, I will never unsubscribe as long as your channel exists. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Are you ready to talk more about it? Like how this idea developed? What just happened? Did I miss something? Yeah, I'm trans. I know I'm so far back now, guys. Could you have me the logic, the house of my? Okay, I don't know what that means. Great hair, is it curly? Unfortunately, it is curly. I'm going to get back to the how did the idea develop. I can talk more about the background. I kind of gave you guys an overview if you want, but I want to at least try to catch up with the chat first. My hair is unfortunately very naturally curly. In high school, I actually had hair down to like here. And when I was a kid, I wanted to grow my hair out really, really, really bad. It turns out because I'm trans, I didn't realize it, but Yeah, I wanted to have long hair and my mom wouldn't let me. It was painful. It's not just like, no, you can't have long hair. Oh, shucks. Okay. No, like I was devastated that I couldn't have long hair. It really bothered me from the age of like 7 to 10 or 11 or whatever. And then when I was in high school, I was like, I don't care what you say, mom, I'm growing my hair out. um, so I did that in high school, but yeah, she let me get like this little, like, it's called a pigtail, where it's like it's not even a ponytail. It's like literally you get to keep like a strip of hair, but everything else is like a normal haircut for a boy. And it was really cringe, especially in the 90s. I guess it was okay in the 90s maybe, but um it was like that's the best I could get. So it was like fine, whatever. And I had that for a little while. But yeah, my hair is unfortunately curly and I hate it. I got a straightener. Uh but obviously I have to do that regularly, and I'm usually wearing a hat and stuff most of the time, because my hair is growing back. Unfortunately, I'm definitely not going to show you guys that, but you guys have seen me in videos without a perfectly shaved head, so you know that that's something that I'm working on as well. But that's super uncomfortable. That's like one of the single biggest pieces of dysphoria for me right now is my hair. As it would be for any girl. Do you want to move to Thailand someday and teach English there? Not really. Like, I don't really want to teach English. I want to teach pronunciation, American accent pronunciation. Like, I've thought before about like going to Japan or some other country and like, teaching English and stuff, because I can definitely do that. But I would have to follow an imposed curriculum. I wouldn't be able to like do my own thing. And I really honestly, like, I don't like teaching grammar and all this other stuff. And like, I really like, the only thing I really enjoy is the pronunciation part. So that's what I would want to do. So unless I could go to some specialized school that teaches pronunciation and allows me to use my own methods, it's not really an option for me. Now, if it came to I have to flee the country and I end up in Thailand and I need a job, then sure. I mean, I'll go for it. It's better than, working a desk job or something like that. But it's not what I would like choose to do necessarily. Fernando, I want to subscribe. Thank you, Fernando. I appreciate that. I have a question. How can we pronounce D before light L without accent in a relaxed way in words and when connecting words like deadly and wildly? So there's a little trick to that. I think I've talked about it in a video somewhere, but so the D comes up onto the bump of the alveolar ridge behind the teeth. So you have your teeth here, you have the bump there, the D will go there. We have a nice good seal. And you do need the right posture to sound native. But if we focus on the articulation details, the L, the light L, is the only sound in the language that narrows the tongue. We actually have generally a wider tongue than most languages. Just posturally, has nothing to do with the articulation of any sounds. And when we bring that D up, we have a nice, good sort of wide base, solid seal along the top of the mouth, and we build the air up. Duh. Okay. So if you want to go from D to L, literally all you have to do, you don't even have to release the D. You just have to pull the sides in. Dull, dull, dull. I'm just same spot. I'm not moving this at all. Dull, 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 dull. So, and it does sound a little bit dark if you do that way, but it doesn't necessarily matter. There's overlap between the light and the dark. So if I say deadly, deadly, dly, deadl, dl, 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 and then I release the L into an E. If I say wildly, same thing. Okay. So that's the little trick. Just narrow the tongue. But then when you're done narrowing the tongue after the L, you have to re-widen it as you go into the next sound because we need to get back on the fourth tooth, the hinge. Okay. Otherwise, now your posture is broken in the E and you're probably going to sound weird. So you got to make sure that you pull in for the L, stay lined up with the fourth tooth, but you pull in and then you go back when you're done with the L. So as the tongue comes off the L, it widens back to our posture. What concentration camps? What concentration camps indeed? Alligator Auschwitz. They're calling it alligator Alcatraz, but it's really alligator Auschwitz. I know that right now for a lot of people, especially if you're not in the States, it might seem very like hyperbolic or exaggerated to say like, oh, this thing that they're building, to detain immigrants is a concentration camp. No, that's exaggerated. That's, you're making this too big of a thing that it is, or than it really is. And like, no, that's the reality, like based on what we know about the people in power and this and that. And um, if you're paying attention, you can see the thing, because like I don't even want to say his name. One, because I feel dirty doing so, and two, because I don't want it to be recorded on YouTube. But um, one of Trump's right hand men, we'll say, um, a balding, beady eyed, sorry excuse for a human being. Um, first name starts with an S, second name starts with an M. He is basically the one who's leading the whole like ICE deportation quota and this and that and whatever. And he has a plan. He's stated this. He has a plan to ethnically cleanse the country, reduce the population from right now we have about 340 million people to 100 million people, white, Christian. That's what they're trying to do. They're in the first steps of doing that, and they're using immigration as an excuse to do it. Um, because it's like, oh, we have this big immigration problem, which we don't. We don't have a problem with illegal immigrants voting in elections. There's very little. It happens very rarely. Yeah, it exists, but it's literally like a handful of people. It's not like tens or hundreds or thousands. It's not an issue, but they manipulate the data and make it into a thing that doesn't actually exist. And they've built that up for years to the point where a lot of people on the right are like, yeah, we have to get rid of these illegal immigrants and these criminals and blah blah blah. And um, it's not an issue. But anyway, this isn't politics. There's like all kinds of things going on right now that I don't even want to talk about anyway. But yeah, things like Alligator Auschwitz, they're concentration camps. There, and right now the Trump administration is trying to get different states, particularly red states, but they're trying to encourage different states to build things like Alligator Auschwitz, uh, initially to help detain immigrants, which, by the way, the conditions that are being reported in Alligator Auschwitz are inhumane, like beyond inhumane. So they're not even like treating these people decently. Like you would think like, oh, okay, if they're illegal immigrants, maybe even if they're violent criminals, they should at least still, while they're waiting to be deported, they should be given, at least clean food, clean water. Some people say no, they're criminals, they don't deserve that, but fuck you. And then you kick them out of the country. Okay, fine. If they actually are violent criminals, which 99% of them aren't to begin with, then sure, then that's what you do. But you at least provide humane conditions, if for no other reason than we're supposed to be the leader of the free world, which we're clearly not anymore. Trump is destroying the country and the global order. But we're supposed to be the leader of the free world and stand for humanity and human rights and this and that and whatever. And then this is what's going on. So no matter how you slice it, there's a bunch of craziness going on, and eventually they're going to. My view, my opinion is, it's going to start with the immigrants. They're going to move on to like the LGBT people. They're already trying to make moves to undo same-sex marriage that we won like 10 years ago, somewhere around there. Supreme Court already overturned Roe versus Wade, which is abortion rights. They're coming for women's rights. The most extreme far right of the people, some of which are in power, not just like random citizens, they want to basically undo everything that has happened in the last like 60 to 100 years. No women's right to vote. Women basically are, locked back up in the home. They have no rights. They're property of people or of their husbands or their fathers, whatever. If you're not white, straight, Christian, and particularly male, you basically have no power. It's an absolute nightmare what's going on in this country. Absolute nightmare. And it's very scary. So yes, Thailand is known for its delicious food, friendly people, and beautiful landscapes. Maybe that would be great. You're really selling me on Thailand. I'm surprised you're not trying to sell me on Vietnam. I hope you can move on, accept the fact, losing everything. Maybe let's try to have a new life in another country. Maybe you can make a new family there. Well, I mean, I haven't lost everything here. I was giving a worst case scenario. Like, luckily for me, all of my friends, although some of them are, I wouldn't say accepting in the sense that they're like, oh yeah, trans people exist and you're valid, but they're accepting in the sense of like more tolerant, like, okay, yeah, you're an adult, you can do what you want. I'm still going to support you and I'll still stand up for you if anybody says anything. But they don't really view me as a woman or whatever. But they're perfectly fine with like me being trans, like they don't care. And then I've had most of my friends, and some of my family, some, you know, couple cousins, my brother, my mom, for the most part, they've been very, very supportive, and they see who I am. But yeah, some family members, particularly that one family member that told me to kill myself, which, by the way, he's a literal Nazi, like swastikas tattooed and everything. Unfortunately, I have some some family ties to that, but I am in no way affiliated with that. The only good one is a not living one, we'll say, to put it mildly. But yeah, so it's not like all terrible, but if it came to the choice of like, hey, you're gonna lose everything or you continue to pretend who you're not, I'll choose to lose everything. It's the only option I would have. But luckily, I do have some supportive people, which is nice. And just escape from the factors, keep bothering you, and make you rely on these medicine. Just escape it, move to another country, maybe. Yeah, eventually I probably will. Part of me really wants to stay and fight. If worse gets to worse and I feel like I have to flee, then I probably will. But in the meantime, I'm going to live my life in defiance, and I'm going to, even if it's just through my little blog on my tiny little corner of the internet, I will try to make my case and hopefully change some people's minds about things. I don't know. I like to have short yet curly hair. Nice. Yeah, when my hair's shorter, it's not particularly curling, but like as it gets longer, like right now it's like kind of curling. As it gets longer, it just like starts doing this. I hate it so much. It's ugh. But it is what it is. It's just how my hair is. Which also I got my ears pierced. You can't really see very well. I wanted to put in one of my other earrings that I had, but this one's still healing, and it's just like a ring that I put in. So that one's been in for a while. I'm trying not to remove it because I did remove it, and it didn't get infected, but it wasn't doing very well. So I put that one in, and I'm just trying to let it heal. This one is all healed up and everything. I don't know if you can see. No, I have lots of like jewelry and different earrings and stuff. I have a lot of earrings right now. Also, I forgot to put my rings on today. Where are my rings? They're in my pocket. But yeah, I'm painting my nails as well, as you guys probably saw in my last video. It looks like I'm only painting every other nail, but that's because I was doing pink on some of them, and that's kind of come off because it's shitty nail polish. But I wanted to put this one in. No, I dropped it. I wanted to put this one in on the this one that's healed. It's one of the dangly. It's a sword. It's so cool. I love it. But I have lots of earrings at this point. I also got these cool Batman ones. Yeah, I found those at a thrift store. They're so awesome. Anyway, you get the point. I also have some like more necklaces I got and stuff. I'm not wearing any of that right now. I don't know where I went on that tangent, but yeah, thanks. I'm also going to be getting my lip pierced. I've always wanted to do that, and I'm probably going to get my nose pierced. I'm kind of waiting for cameras backwards. I'm kind of waiting for this one to heal all the way before I do any more piercings. And honestly, I technically don't have the money, so I shouldn't be spending on piercings anyway, but it is helping with my mental health. So, I'm using that excuse. So eventually you'll see me with A lip piercing. These are things like even painting my nails. These are things that I've always wanted to do, but every time that they cross my mind, even though like, okay, yeah, some guys, especially like, goth guys or emo guys, whatever, they'll paint the nails black because I had that transphobia and I had that deep mask that was like trying to protect me um, from myself. uh, Anytime I would think about like wearing lipstick or painting my nails or getting a piercing, it would always like my brain would like I would like feel bad. I would want to do it, and then my brain would just be like, "Look at this distraction." It would like literally just move my mind to something else. Um, but now that I am who I am, I can actually do these things, and if anybody has a problem with it, then screw you. I really don't care. Um, what phone do you use? I have an Android. Um, I don't use Apple products because I despise the fact that Apple is so proprietary, and I'm against extensive proprietary software. Now, of course, I also use Windows because I'm lazy. I would prefer to use Linux, but this particular computer, I don't want to accidentally make a brick, even though I've installed Linux literally hundreds of times. So I just haven't messed with it, and I kind of just use Windows. But yeah, I don't have any Apple products at all. Which, by the way, if you guys know anything about trans women, it's a gigantic common stereotype because there's so many trans women who do this that are programmers. And I've always had an interest in programming, and I've installed Linux on my computers before and stuff like that. So I think it's funny. Like I'm not a programmer, but I have an interest in programming and this and that. It's kind of like it's like, is it because I'm trans? Maybe. It's ridiculous how many trans women are programmers. Um, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, it also helps. No need to teach English here. You can teach pronunciation in Thailand. Oh, that's cool. I'll keep that in mind. I mean, I do want to see Asia, so maybe at some point I'll work my way over there. Trust me, in Vietnam, people pronounce English very bad. I could fix it. The job for teaching pronunciation is always available. Okay, cool. Good to know. And now the question that I've been interested a lot: can I sound 100% natural and neutral if I watch all your videos and practice enough? Theoretically, yes. I give you all of the information. I give you all of the tools. I try to give you all the techniques. But at the end of the day, it's information. There's like some guided exercises, but you need feedback. Anytime that you're developing a skill, feedback is required. Now, that feedback can be done by recording yourself, listening, and this and that. And some people, particularly successful polyglots, figure out ways to make that work for them, and some of them develop a perfectly natural uh, neutral sounding accent in their chosen language, even if they don't know about mouth posture. Now my theory about that is they end up mimicking the posture. Like I actually partially did that in Spanish. That's the only reason why my Spanish accent sounds so good, which I think I'm actually this close to cracking the Spanish posture and solidifying it. I was sounding really good the other day. But that aside, uh, eh, I do think that some people have the natural ability, if they, use the right tools and techniques and are consistent, to just kind of get to the posture with their shadowing of like the sounds and the accent and stuff. Um, but obviously knowing about posture and like what the settings should be and intentionally trying to change them. Like I think the average person needs that information. They need that little extra bit, and they need usually feedback from somebody who has a good ear. Uh, Now, if you can develop your ear and go through my videos and stuff and get enough feedback, even just from like another native, like he doesn't have to be a teacher. They can't necessarily tell you what's wrong, but they can tell you if you sound natural or not. Um, and you continue to work on things, it is technically theoretically possible that you could, without actually working with me, develop that perfectly natural accent. And that's kind of my goal is like, I just want you guys to be able to do it by yourselves. But the unfortunate reality is having a teacher who can guide you and give you the exact feedback. Like I can hear if your tongue is tensed forward. I've developed that ability. So if you're just like tensed forward, not even push forward, just like tensed forward, I will hear it. You can ask any of the students I'm working with, like Mata knows, Mgana Shali knows, like, yeah, that's a useful resource for you, especially when you're starting out. You're like, I can't hear this, I can't feel this. I can guide you. And you will eventually develop the ability to hear and feel what I'm hearing. So working with me helps. But if you do the right things and you're consistent, you can theoretically, you'll at least make progress for sure. Can you reach the end goal? I don't know. I don't know. Theoretically, yes, but I can't just say, "Oh yeah, for sure you'll do it." There's too many variables there without any mistakes. Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely like that in Japanese school. Teachers have to follow the curriculum, which doesn't focus on pronunciation if you work as a teacher here. Yeah, Japanese is the one, or Japan is the one that I looked mostly into, and I'm like, oof, this is very top down and rigid, and I don't like that. So, because that was going to be my gateway into Japan. It's like, hey, let me just join the JET program, which is already hard enough to get into. And I never ended up following that path because I was watching videos like, people post videos like day in the life of a JET English teacher or whatever. It's like I wake up at 5 a.m. and then I take the Shinkansen train, and then I have to go through all of these things that they tell me to teach, and then blah 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 blah. I'm like, I am not waking up at 5 a.m. I'm sorry. Like I wake up at 9:30 because I'm a night person. I don't go to bed until like 12 or 1 o'clock, sometimes 2 o'clock. So that would not work very well with my natural rhythm. But anyway, on the contrary, outside, it's seen very clearly what's going on in the U.S. You're following the Russia scenario there. Okay, so you guys see what's going on. You're following the Russia scenario. I'm not sure what that means. But okay, that's good to know. Yeah, at least the world sees what's happening. A lot of people in this country don't. But okay. A lot of people are waking up though. Like the worse that it gets, the more people are kind of like, yeah. Like his approval numbers are just lowering and lowering more over time. Even Republicans on some issues are like, guy, yeah, this is kind of an issue. Unfortunately, like 90% of Republicans still give him an overwhelming approval rating, which is insane to me. It makes me think that there are no more moderate Republicans and they're all just right-wing fascist extremists. But I'm sure some of them are just burying their heads in their sand and not really realizing what's going on. Robo, hello. Sorry, it took me a while to get to you. If you're still here, hello. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just go in order. Always trying to catch up with the chat. Yours truly. Nice to see you, dear Joshua. Nice to see you as well. Yes. It's nice that you're living life to the fullest by doing what you truly enjoy. It's not even doing what I truly enjoy. It's just being who I am, or trying to be who I am. It's kind of hard when, you're a girl and you look like a guy. It's very, very uncomfortable, to put a simple word on it. But, I know, like, okay, women come in all shapes and sizes, and, some have more masculine features, some have more feminine features. Like, there's no, like, standard whatever. But still, I got the social programming, too, of what men and women are supposed to look like and this and that. And everyone's valid, of course. But I also would prefer not to look so manly, Anyway. I love your nails, by the way. Well, thank you. Yeah. And there's a cat throwing up. That's great. I'll have to clean that up later. But yeah, I did have them like all black, and then recently I decided to do like black and pink, and I like that better actually. I'm also going to be getting, there's like this really cool shade of blue that I got that is like almost like a neon turquoise kind of. I'm gonna be getting that one later, but yeah, I don't know. As you can tell, I don't really keep up with them. It's just like kind of when I reach the point where they're like mostly like scraped off, I'll just like put a new coat on. I don't really maintain them. But that's okay. Yeah. Anyway, mentioning nails reminds me of the hell did the cat throw? Mentioning nails reminds me of the entire nail business in the USA run by Vietnamese people. That is true. That is pretty common. Yeah. Quite proud a little bit. Good. Yeah. It's very nice. Yeah, I was listening to a joke the other day. It was an Indian comedian, and he was talking about. I won't go into the whole joke, but he was talking about like he was giving a a joking explanation for like why Indians are like when they come to the US, they're all like either doctors or gas station owners or convenience stores owners. um, and it was pretty entertaining, but yeah, like that's some groups kind of dominate certain markets, and that's fine. That's great. You know, I don't really care about it either way, but it's very cool. Get representation there. Representation is important. I used to believe that I was a cis straight white male, well, mostly straight, but cis straight white male, and I was blind to a lot of privilege. I was people talking to me about privilege. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe, I guess. I know racism still exists and stuff, but like, is it really that deep? Because we have civil rights and this and that, whatever. And going from the most privileged position, like literally the most privileged position in society, to almost the lowest of the low, the least, like the most oppressed, honestly. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm so oppressed, but like that's the societal reality for the most part. Like that's like all the transphobia and this and that. We're still like looked down upon more than any other group. The only person the only group who's maybe more oppressed than me, because I have white skin, so I at least have that working in my favor. Unfortunately, not unfortunately that I'm white, but unfortunately that's a favor. We should all just be, treated equally as humans. But people of color who are trans, they have it even worse because they have all the confounding factors: the trans, the racism, the misogyny, everything. I'm actually writing an article right now on how why people feel that LGBT people are like pushing our identity in your face and stuff, and it's actually rooted in cultural conditioning through patriarchy. And I go and I lay out in like every case, like this is why patriarchy makes you feel this way about gay men and gay women and trans men and trans women. And it's a very interesting little piece I'm working on, but that doesn't matter. But yeah, anyway, representation is important. Even if you're represented, even if some of that representation in your government, because we now have the first trans congressperson in the United States, which is great, but she is kind of not making the best choices when it comes to our community, and that's really pissing a lot of us off. So, I guess some representation is, better than perfect representation, but it is what it is. So yeah, I now understand how important representation stuff is. That's why I went off on all that. Yeah, it's amazing how becoming a minority opens your eyes. So, what you drinking? I'm drinking Mountain Dew. Like, I tell you 10 minutes later after you ask the question. Mountain Dew, yes. Where'd my bottle go? Am I out? Thank you for reminding me. I need to drink. Don't drink soda. It's unhealthy. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to do the do. Yeah. Fizzy sweet drinks do help to ease certain emotions, especially when you already have an addiction to sugar. So, but yeah, usually I drink water or tea, but I got Mountain Dew, so that's what I'm drinking. You can dress up however you want. When you have classes with me, it's totally fine with me. Cool. Great. It's good to know. I'm not going to just like magically show up in a dress to class or anything like that. That's not the purpose here, but my presentation will be changing. Obviously my body will eventually be changing. So it's like, yeah, things will be, moving in that direction. So if you see me with makeup or whatever, then why, right? That's the whole point. Which I'm getting pretty decent in makeup. I can't wait. I'm like, I still have my stupid shadow. It doesn't really look too bad in the camera. You can probably see some of the shadow because I just shaved right before the stream. I'm so tired of shaving. But I'm hoping next month I can start electrolysis and permanently remove my face hair. And I'm going to be so happy when that happens because I don't have to shave anymore. I don't got to worry about my shadow anymore. I'm so excited for that. Like, that's going to do such a, it's going to make such a huge improvement in my day-to-day mental health. Um, especially because like when I do, you know, like if I go out to like the mall with my friend or whatever, like I have like a wig, I'll put on like a whole wig and like full makeup, wear whatever I want to wear, whatever, we'll just go out and have fun. But I'm always like, I have this goddamn shadow and it pisses me off and it annoys me and it makes me feel really uncomfortable. Um, doesn't seem to matter how much I try to cover it up. It's like you can still tell there's something there, and I hate it so much. But anyway, that'll be being fixed soon, hopefully. I love and sing My Immortal by Evanescence. Yes, that's one of my favorite songs. Actually, I love that song, especially the there's like the standard album version, which is really good. But there's I found it on YouTube like 5 or 6 years ago. It's like the band version or whatever, where like on like the big drop in the middle of the song, they add like this rock guitar to it, and it just makes it so much better. It's like, oh, it's so great. But yeah, I love Evanescence, especially this album. This is one of the best albums ever made in the history of humanity, if you ask me. Every single song on it is genius. It's gold. It's amazing. Some are a little better than others, but they're all fantastic. After this, Evanescence has good music. I still listen to them. I like them, but not as good as the first album. This was their perfection, their contribution to humanity. But I love Amy Lee. I love Evanescence. Don't have too much bad to say about them. Especially Amy Lee, because she seems to be a little bit more vocal politically. She did a song a while back, something about use your voice or something. I don't remember the song, but yeah, we stand Amy Lee here. Anyway, yes, you're the real deal. I'm your student. I'm wondering what happened. What happened? I'm trans. That's what happened. I'm basically just coming out to you guys. Okay. Also, follow up from that. I'm taking a short break to go to Vietnam, but seeing your announcement, I'm so worried and have to rush in right away. Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm just trans. So if you don't like that, sorry. But yeah, if you're fine with that, then great, no problem. Can I sometimes pronounce a schwa instead of an ah sound if I speak quickly? So the schwa is the center of gravity, which means if you're not doing any other sound, the schwa is going to be produced. It's our most relaxed, lazy position because it's literally just the core basic posture without trying to articulate anything else. The short answer is no. You can't just like replace schwas or replace other sounds with schwas just because you're speaking quickly. However, especially if it's not in a stress syllable, but in general, if you're speaking quickly enough and or lazy enough, we're going to tend to staying in the schwa or not fully leaving it because that's our basic posture. The quicker we speak, the more lazier we speak, the less we're going to actually move fully into other sounds. But there's a limit to that because otherwise I would just be saying, it just also has to be a bunch of uhs. Okay. So I'm going to say no. That's kind of dangerous territory, but theoretically on the very extreme end, it could maybe be possible at least some of the time. Yeah, I'm sure it exists. I'm sure it happens. I wouldn't say it's a common, normal, or standard thing, though, even at that speed. Me too. It's 2:37 a.m. and I still do not sleep. Yeah, right. Well, I guess that works out for you in this particular case because you're here on the stream. Otherwise, you would probably just completely miss it. Yeroka. I feel happy for you, Felicity. Oh, thank you so much for using my name. It still feels kind of weird because I look like a guy and I hate that. But when people like you guys don't understand, like language is powerful. Words are powerful. That's an acknowledgement of who I am, who I say I am. Right. And it goes straight to the heart, it goes straight to the soul, like literally straight to my soul. I don't even believe souls exist, and it goes straight to my soul. That's how deep it is. And it's not a big thing. It's not that hard to do. But it literally like if you want to touch the heart of a trans person, use their name. Like, just use their name and their pronouns, but especially their name. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. That actually makes me kind of emotional. The first time my mom used it, I was just like, I literally like cried a little bit. Which the first name I chose, actually, by the way, Felicity is the second name I chose. For a while, I was going with Sienna, Sienna, and I really like that name. But after testing it out for a while, I was kind of like, I don't know. I kind of want to try Felicity because I also like Fee. So I ended up on Felicity. I kind of wanted to go with Catelyn because I really like that name. But then there's like Caitlyn Jenner, and she's a self-hating trans person. Apparently, she's a transmedicalist. Transmedicalist is one of the worst words in the English language. You do not want to be a transmedicalist. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. But transmedicalism is a terrible, terrible philosophy that does damage to the vast majority of trans people. And a lot of people don't like Caitlyn Jenner for various reasons. So I kind of thought that was a little too close to that. But I like the nickname Cat. So that's the main reason I wanted to be called Catelyn. But yeah, Felicity's cool. I like Felicity. Fee. I can barely imagine what you're going through, though your description helps. You want a real description, go read my Medium blog. I literally have a piece called Being Trans Is, which you can also listen to the audio version on Spotify or YouTube. Ha, shameless promotion. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to be talking a lot more about that, and it's I hope I'm doing a pretty good job. Like, if you're not trans, you can't truly understand exactly what it's like, but you can get a pretty good idea from people who describe it well, and I'm trying to describe it well. Luckily, words are my tools, very strong in language skills. So hang in there and know that there are a lot of people who will support you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Nobody said anything bad yet, which is nice. It's very nice. If you do have something bad to say, I'll probably end up kicking you just because I don't need that negative energy. But if you want to express yourself in a negative way, go right ahead. It's not really going to affect me. Wake up at 10 a.m. Yeah, right. My first class is at 10 a.m. because I don't want to like sleep too late. So I just wake up at 9:30. 9:27 to be exact, because waking up exactly on the hour makes me feel weird and odd. I feel like if I like a little bit off from an exact hour or half hour, it helps me actually get up. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, it's 9:30. Let me sleep for 10 more minutes because it's like a nice round number. No, so I wake up at 9:27. My brain is weird. Freedom is one of the most important things in this world. We always need to work and fight for it. Yeah, the struggle never ends, apparently. Yeah, especially against NAZIs. Thought we were done with that shit, but apparently not. They never actually died. We were way too lenient because actually we let a lot of them into the U.S., like the smarter ones, because we wanted to use their talents for like engineering and scientific development and stuff, and we should not have done that. Because they laid down roots in this country, and we're seeing the effect of that. I mean, there's history in the South and whatever. It's not just that, but we're really seeing the effect of the descendants of these, fascists from Germany originally in the 1930s and 40s. And we should not have done that. They should have been held fully accountable for their crimes, punished accordingly. But here we are. So yeah. What do you do as your day-to-day job? I teach English, well, particularly American accent, not English in general. It's the only thing I teach right now is the accent through mouth posture. In addition to that, I also do food delivery. I do DoorDash, Uber Eats. Unfortunately, right now I kind of have to work. I don't work 24/7. I play Marvel Rivals and this and that to kind of unwind, but I'm working pretty much all day, every day for the most part. Which sucks because unfortunately I made some poor financial decisions over the last few years, and then the economy started to kind of get worse, and now I'm actually in not that great of a position. So I kind of have to work. In fact, I'm taking time out of my normal work schedule right now to talk to you guys. Which reminds me, when is my next class? Hold on a second. I'll have to gap for myself. Okay, it's in 2 more hours, so we got plenty of time. So anyway, yeah, so I have 2 jobs, and I just try to make as much money as I can every day, which is getting harder and harder to do. Right now, my course, I charge $48 an hour for a lesson. You can get a package that's a little bit cheaper, but I only make about $35.50 from that if you get the package. If you don't get the package, it's like $38 that I make, because Italki takes their 15% or whatever, 15 to 20% now. So, and that's cool. Making $35 an hour is good. That's a good amount. But then consider, I maybe only have, some days I don't have any classes, which is uncommon now, but some days I might have 1 class. It's like, okay, that's $35. I need to make like at least another 100, preferably 150. Some days I'll have 2 or 3 classes. That's kind of most days. I think these days now I have 2 or 3 classes, which is nice, but 3 classes is only like a little over $100. Still got to go out and try to do some food deliveries and stuff. I will be raising the price of the course. So if anybody wants to get in at a cheaper price, now is the time. Okay. I'm waiting to get at least 2 or 3 people all the way fully through the course. Okay. I have really good results with a lot of people going on right now. Things are being optimized. Things are working more efficiently. I have a lot of people at the start of the course because more and more people are joining, which is great. Sometimes people drop. That's just how it is. They decide it's not for them, but we're doing pretty good there. And I'm trying to get a little bit more results, a little bit more data, a little bit more optimizing towards the end of the course. And then it's like, okay, I know this works. I know how to get you from A to Z as efficiently as possible. I'm going to raise the price. And I'll probably be raising it from $48 an hour to at least $60 an hour, maybe 65. I don't want to like outprice people, but at the same time, like, my time is valuable, and I try to give you guys everything for free anyway. And it's like, especially in the economy that we're increasingly facing to these ridiculous tariffs that are going to start hitting us worse and worse. I'm probably going to have to do that. So that way, then if I only have 3 classes a day, it's like, oh, I'm making like 120, 130, whatever that comes out to. And so that's going to help. But if I had more classes every day, even at the current price point, I would be fine. If I filled every class slot I have every day, I'd be making like $250 a day, which would be fine. I would be perfectly fine, like comfortable with that. I wouldn't have to go do DoorDash. But, I don't have that many people banging down my door at the moment. So it is what it is. I got 2 jobs. What state are you in right now? California. For various reasons, I would prefer not to say. I will tell you the state, but I don't want to go into like exactly where I am. I was in California. I'm from California. I lived in San Diego most of my life. Currently, I am living in Oregon. So, yes, Oregon. Which it is paradise up here for me. I hate San Diego. I've always hated San Diego. Yeah, there's a beach and everybody loves the beach. I don't love the beach. I grew up next to the beach. Beach is bleh. Okay. I'm not a beach person. Beach is okay. It's cool. It's fun to go to sometimes, but also my beach is like constantly polluted from the Tijuana sewage system, which is like a national level issue that Trump refuses to do anything about. Biden didn't really do much about it either. So, it's been going on for like a long time. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. I'm not a beach person. I'm definitely not a desert person. I despise the desert. Good to visit, not good to live in. I love mountains. I love trees. I love greenery everywhere. And of course, Oregon is the perfect place for that. The Pacific Northwest. I love it. It has been helping my mental health tremendously just being here. Like, I kind of just want to like, this is partially a joke. It's mostly a joke, but after I moved up here, I was kind of like, I kind of want to quit teaching English and just do DoorDash all the time because I can just drive around and see all these trees everywhere. It's called an urban forest. very much like a mountain town in most places, not everywhere, but you go on the freeway, there's still lots of trees, but it's, it's a freeway. But you get into town and stuff, and it's like you're in the mountains. There's just like pine trees everywhere, and it's fantastic. I love it so much. So I'm much happier with where I am right now. Like I should have moved here a long time ago. I am so behind in the chat as always. Some things never change. Okay, let's see if I can catch up here. Do we drop B in the word obviously? Obviously, obvious. You can, yes, that's possible. Obviously, yeah. Honestly, I love Japan because I'm an otaku. I don't think I'm hardcore enough anymore to call myself an otaku, but same here. I love Japanese culture, yes. But living and teaching in Japan can be a little stressful financially. Thailand would be cheaper and easier to live. Oh, good to know. Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you live in Japan, but especially if you're going to live in like Tokyo or something, it's pretty expensive. Yeah. The most important thing is to find ways to reduce stress. I'm really afraid you will encounter something that will cause you to worry even more if living in Japan. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely at least going to visit Japan eventually, but I wanted to live in Japan for like a decade. That was like my dream. Just like I want to move to Hokkaido and just like live in Japan. And I still might do that at some point, but I don't know. What time is it where you live? Right now it is 1:02 p.m. So big time zone difference. Have you watched Love, Death, and Robots season 4? The first episode is about rock music, and it's really awesome. I have not. I haven't even heard of that. Maybe I'll check it out. Hi, I'm your reviewer of your videos. The whole mouth posture series is excellent. I hope it will continue for the mouth posture and pronunciation of R and L sounds. Yes. I'm still trying to nail down and optimize the R and L section. I have a lot of it already developed, and I have like some recordings for it and stuff. I'm working with some people on that part of the course. They're nearing the end there. As for the videos, I probably won't do like a full-on traditional kind of thing that I did before, where it's like, here's like, the whole, but I'll probably at some point give you guys the information. I do have an video. It's like one of the last videos that I published talking about the with the mouth posture, and I have some updates on that as well. As for the L, yeah, I never quite got around to the L in the posture, so I do need to at least throw something at you guys with that at some point. So I do plan on that, yes, even if it's just sort of an informal type of video. But I don't know when that's gonna come. So eventually, eventually. In the meantime, I mean, there's the traditional R&L lessons that I have that give you lots of information. It's just missing the posture. The main thing that you have to know for the light L, what I call the full L consonant, is my slinky is breaking. Is the back half of the mouth, the posture is exactly the same. Nothing changes. The center of gravity is there. The tongue position is there. The tension setting is there. Everything is still low and open. All the stuff that I talked about in the posture course, and most specifically in my most recent update video that I put out, and I gave you guys, a deeper look at some of those other pieces. What the light L does is it takes the front half of the tongue, particularly the front, but the front half of the tongue, it'll lift it and narrow it. You can touch here on the bump. You can touch between the bump and the teeth. You can touch on the teeth. It doesn't really matter for the L, but if you do it on the teeth, you have to stretch the front forward without breaking your posture. So I don't recommend you do that. So if you just go up into the TDN position right on the bump, pull the tongue into the sides, bam. But you got to make sure that the back half of the tongue stays exactly the same. For the dark L, without getting into too much detail and getting sidetracked here, the dark L doesn't change the posture. Okay, some of the postural elements will have to resist. Okay, they'll have to sort of keep their place and shape. But the dark L does mostly take over the center of gravity. So if you can do the dark L, if you can do you got to make sure that you keep the same posture as the If you can do the posture and your sounds good and everything's in place and you sound nice and clear and open, You want to keep that, but just like you would say you do an ah or you would do an e, you keep that posture there. You keep the there. The difference is that the is still kind of technically there, but the dark L works and sounds in such a way that it sort of overrides that center of gravity and becomes a new center of gravity. So for the you have modification, like not breaking, but modifications of the posture itself and taking over the center of gravity mostly. But for the dark L, you really just got to make sure that it takes over the in terms of its presence. So if you're doing like a vowel, you say like eel, l, l, or you have like the under it instead of the instead of the under it. But you also don't have to color them. You can do an uncolored vowel and move into the L, the dark L, like you would say if you're going like E to ah, E to dark L, eel. You just have to still sort of blend them in a nice, easy way. So you have options. The dark L is not that big of a deal as long as if you can form the sound itself, you don't really have to worry about the posture. You just have to keep the posture solid, keep it in place. So it's not as bad as the R, but that's all I'll say for now on that. No, I'm not. I'm also, okay, by the way, so seeing that you're living true to yourself actually makes me very happy. I don't know what, no, I'm not for first. What did we say? I know I said something about something earlier. Okay. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm the one who usually took lessons with you on Saturday. I have several people who usually take lessons with me on Saturday. So nothing's coming to mind, unfortunately. It's just now I know what my problems are and gets frustrated. So I'm using this hiatus period to try and find a way to fix it. Okay, well, that's good. That's fine. I heard that some American accents, like a Texan accent, tend to pronounce the diphthong I almost like ah. Could you please tell me more about this? Is that common in casual speech? Well, most Americans have a sort of broadly general American accent. We just have a couple differences, like the cot merger, which is becoming standard. Using E in the ing combination instead of eh. That's kind of a Western thing that is very common. But it creates such a minor difference. It doesn't become a new accent. Like we sound pretty much the same. When we talk about other accents, like say the Texan accent, let me see. Texas. So I probably don't have a very good accent. If a Texan were listening to me, they'd probably say, maybe it's all right, but you definitely don't sound like you're from Texas. And I'll probably at some point mix it with some other Southern accent. Uh, but Texans kind of sound like this, and they do have some slight modifications in the posture for sure. Slight different articulation of the sounds. Of course, they have that sort of Southern drawl where they kind of round out and draw out some of the vowels. So do they tend to pronounce the diphthong I like most aw? I don't know. Let's see. I. I'm from Texas. Maybe something like that. Yeah, a little bit. Honestly, I don't really have too much to say about it. I would not say that that is a feature of standard American English. It would be a feature of the Texan accent. However, what I will answer you, because I think you maybe were having a little confusion here, it is possible to cut the diphthong. That's what I call it. In AI, technically the ow and the oi as well, but it's a little trickier with those. But in the A and the I, you can cut the diphthong, which means that you actually don't need to use the second part of the diphthong, or we'll just like partially move to the second part and not finish it. This is very, very common. Like I, the word I, the pronoun I, referring to myself, fully enunciated. The full word is I. It's just that diphthong. That commonly gets reduced all the way down to a schwa, but there's sort of an in-between spot where instead of reducing it to a schwa, you can reduce it by cutting the diphthong. So instead of saying I like that, you can say I like that. I like that. So I'm not saying I'm just saying just the start of it, and using it as a monophthong essentially, or like a partial diphthong that we just don't finish. Either way is fine. And then you can say like I don't like that. I don't like that. You have to be speaking quickly enough to do that, but yeah. So I wouldn't change it to an ah, but you can just use the first part of the diphthong. Same thing with a. Have a good day. Day. Have a good day. Now, if you're enunciating, you say, have a good day. that's going to sound weird. It doesn't work. You have to be speaking not super fast, but sort of maybe like there's like slow normal, fast normal, and then there's like slow and enunciated, like really enunciated, and then super fast and lazy. This is a whole other world. But you have to at least be like middle of the road. If you go too slow, it's going to stand out and it's not going to sound right, right? Because the more that we slow down, the more that we're going to actually enunciate what should be there. The more that we speed up, the more that we're going to start cutting and dropping things. That's just how the language works. So yeah, that's a possibility, but not the ah. I wouldn't move it to the ah. Not in general American. My Vietnamese name is Tan, but it's really difficult for foreigners to pronounce. Yeah, I have no idea how to say that. Hopefully I did an okay job there. So I chose Ethan. That's fine. Because his name signifies being stronger, both physically and mentally. Okay, good. There's a reason behind it. I was just laughing because like that seems, I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of stereotype in my brain that I'm not aware of, but like a Vietnamese person named Ethan, that seems like it fits for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe there's some sort of stereotype going on, in which case I apologize. But that's a nice name. I like that name. Signifies being stronger both physically and mentally. That's really cool. That's good. Yeah. It's good to have meanings behind what we choose. Like Felicity, right? If you speak Spanish or some Romance language, you probably know that that's related to felicitaciones in Spanish, like congratulations, whatever. So felicity is supposed to mean like happiness or one who brings happiness. And that's not the reason I chose it, but I was like, I like that name and I like that meaning. So in real life, I get to cry when I have an argument, either an argument or to argue. When I have to argue or have an argument with anyone, even though I'm a boy. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with just because you're a boy doesn't mean that you can't cry. That sucks. Crying is not fun, but there's nothing wrong with it. I hate crying so much, especially when it keeps happening. But okay. Delio is here. Delio. What's the dealio, Delio? Sorry, I'm late. No problem. In case you haven't picked up by now, because I have been speaking quite a bit about English, the purpose of the stream is to tell you guys that I'm trans. So if you're still here, Delio, I am trans. And I wouldn't peg you for a person who would have a problem with that. But if you do, oh well. That's not my problem. Am I the only one having issues with the audio? I don't know. I'm the one speaking. You're lagging. Am I lagging? Yeah, my internet connection probably isn't the absolute best, but hopefully it's well enough. I do have an issue with the audio. Okay. That might be my mic. I don't know if I can like change it without destroying the stream. Is it fixed now? It's normal now. Okay, good. So yeah, if that happens, it's probably a temporary thing. When I was moving, I didn't pack this up like I should have. And I think it kind of like the mic kind of got a little damaged. And so sometimes it sounds a little weird or whatever. Like you guys should have seen my car. I didn't I sold a lot of stuff and then I left some stuff at my mom's house. But I literally I could not fit anything else in my car. The passenger seat, like I had enough to see out the windows all around, but literally all the way up to the window level in every seat except the driver's seat was just full. I couldn't fit anything else in the car. The trunk was completely full. It was crazy. Like I couldn't even I'd get like a drink, as I'm driving or whatever, like a soda or something. And I literally had nowhere to put it. Like I couldn't put it on the floorboard or anything. I had to like put it on top of something next to me. It was crazy. I literally had no space in the car. It was very uncomfortable. Even like the little where you maybe have the armrest, like I had my Instant Pot there. So I couldn't even like put my arm there. I had to like drive like this for literally 16 hours. It was ridiculous. It's crazy. But yeah, anyway. So this probably got damaged in that process. And it was also buried under a bunch of stuff. So just your best page is lagging. That's true. I think it's better, not good. Okay, I appreciate you much for giving us your time. No problem. The best gift you can give someone is your time. That is very true. Are there usually many people swimming in the beaches? Not in San Diego. San Diego itself is not as bad. I lived in Imperial Beach, which is attached to the south of San Diego. There's like San Diego Coronado, which is the rich area that has like a military base on it, and then there's actual like downtown San Diego. Once you get to downtown San Diego, like there's still pollution, but Imperial Beach is like literally right on the border. Like you can see the border fence. Um, and it's really bad. Like they constantly have signs up. Like even like when I was a teenager, they would sometimes put signs up saying, contaminated water, don't go in the water. But it was just like here and there. And then now these days it's like constantly up. It's like they don't recommend that you go in the water. There's still surfers that go out and stuff. They're literally, swimming in crap. But hardcore surfers got to surf, so whatever. Um, I don't know. I didn't really go down to the beach that much, especially in the last few years. So I can't tell you like how many people go there, but I know a lot of people would still like go and just like be on the beach. You don't necessarily have to go in the water. So yeah, you should move to Vietnam. You're really trying to push me into Vietnam. Uh, actually, tropical trees like pine or pine trees, palm trees and stuff actually don't do much for me, especially because that's mostly what's in San Diego. And they don't got enough green. They're tall and they're skinny and they're cool. Trees are cool. I like trees, but it's just like, okay, you got like these little green things sort of hanging off the top. No, I want green. I want to look around and be covered in green. Just everywhere I look, green. Trees, lots of leaves, lots of like even like the pine trees, particularly pine trees. I love pine trees more than any other kind of tree. It's like, yes, pine trees. I love them. I love being in like a mountain type environment. So a tropical environment is not my preference. Not my preference. I'm sure it's great though. Sure, it's great. Fernando sent a heart. Well, thank you very much. Looks like heart in a hand. So you're giving me a heart, or I don't know if that's a heart with hands. Either way, I get the idea. Okay. Tree's always green, even winter or summer. Well, that's cool. Is it green enough though? Is it enough greenery? All right. My friend prefers Oregon to Cali. Yeah, right. I like your t-shirt. Well, thank you. Yes. How much do you earn on italki teaching? Well, I mean, I kind of covered that. It fluctuates, unfortunately. Like when you have your own business and stuff, like you don't have like a guaranteed income. But last month, for the whole month, just on italki, I made about $3,000, which is good. That's like enough to cover my bills, but not enough to cover taxes or catch up on some things that I'm trying to catch up on. So yeah. In a bad month, I might make like 1,500 to 2,000. That hasn't happened for a little while, which is good. On a good month, I think that's the most I've ever made on italki actually is 3,000. But on a good month, including my second job, I'll make like 4,000 or 5,000. But in this economy, like I'm lucky if I hit 4,000 with all the work that I do. And that seems like a lot, but remember, we're in the United States. We've had crazy inflation. Like, um, it's if I didn't have things that I needed to catch up on, 4,000 would be pretty comfortable for the most part, but it doesn't give you a lot of room. You can maybe get a little bit of savings going on. I have like no savings, like zero savings, unfortunately. So yeah. And I'm not like going out partying every day or something like that. Like I have some irresponsible purchases here and there. Yes. Sometimes I eat out or whatever, but yeah, it's even trying to kind of be more or less frugal, it's still pretty tough. So, how long can you teach an intermediate or advanced learner to reach a native level? How long? So, how long would it take to get an intermediate or advanced student to the native level? Well, in terms of general English, I don't know because I don't teach general English anymore, and I don't want to teach general English. But when it comes to pronunciation, so if you're like you can understand English, you can communicate fairly well, but you're trying to work on your pronunciation, your accent reduction. To get to a native level, I have no solid answer on that because it kind of depends a bit on the person and how consistent they are and how serious they are and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you were working on pronunciation, and if you give me, say, 3 to 6 months, I can definitely drastically reduce your accent overall, at least in your ability to consciously produce and control things. You won't sound perfect. You'll still make mistakes. Things won't be fully built in yet. Again, it depends on the person. I have some people who make progress a lot faster than that. Some people, they start at a higher point or a lower point. There's just a lot of variables, so it's hard for me to say exactly. But yeah, can you explain why goes with N or M? It's like the sound instead of that. I have a whole video on that. Look up the truth. I think it's called The Truth About before N/M. If you look up that video, I explain all of that. I have to use the restroom real quick, so give me a second, guys. I also got this cute little Nezuko thing. It's really nice. I love it. Anyway. Oh, I'm never gonna catch up with the chat. Story of my life. Where were we? Do. I lost my place. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Josh already mentioned depends on how many classes he gets. Yes. Can I pronounce I'm as Yes, that is a because I can reduce it with the pronoun I can reduce to as long as you're speaking quickly enough. Again, it doesn't have to be super fast, but it's very common to say Yeah. So I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. But if you're saying I'm gonna leave, it's like what's I'm gonna? That's what? What's gonna leave? Who's gonna leave? No, I'm gonna leave. So you used to say I'm gonna because you could use I'm going to I'm gonna. That's a very advanced sort of informal reduction. But yes, you can reduce I'm dumb. Just make sure that you're speaking quickly enough. Can we pronounce schwa instead of short I in most words, like in shortened syllables? So the sound, right? What is exactly the posture you're talking about? Can you say something about what is exactly the posture that you're talking about? So, well, the posture is what I've talked about in all the videos, all the course and everything. The posture is universal in within the language. So they're constant settings, which means that it doesn't matter if you're doing or or ah, the posture will be the same. So like the middle shape, the sort of like shape that we have in the middle of the tongue for that you also see an maybe an ah a little bit. That same shape is there under every single sound, even the R. I actually didn't realize at first. When I made the video, I don't know if I mentioned that detail because I don't think I had realized it at that point. But upon closer inspection, yeah, the R still has some extent of that same shape. But anyway, can you replace a schwa with an If it's a schwa reduction, not just a natural part of the word, um, not all the time, but it is a very common thing. I think it's more of a Western American thing to do. I don't think it's like part of like all the neutral accents, but it's very common in my speech. I've noticed there's many times where a schwa reduction can become an I reduction instead. um, because you can't do it in all cases, and because maybe it is a little bit more of a Western thing, it won't really stand out, won't really give you an accent, but um, mostly because you can't do it in all cases. Instead of trying to figure out which cases you should or shouldn't do it in, I would just use schwa reductions as schwa reductions and not worry about the eh. But if you hear a case where somebody used an eh and you're absolutely sure they used an eh, and you want to say that particular word that way, then fine, go ahead and do it. You can do it on a case-by-case basis as you learn them. I find your channel very useful. I enjoy it very much. Well, thank you. It's good. No, it's fine. It's probably the audio. I'm the Vietnamese guy, just to log your memory. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I know. So you said Vietnamese. Saturday's Vietnamese. Yeah, I know exactly who you are. By the way, I'm curious why I do see the dip in the front of the tongue when some Americans pronounce the E vowel. Well, I mean, you shouldn't really see anything because the E is pretty high and the mouth is not really open. So that seems weird to me. But dip in the front of the tongue. So when we do the E, whoops, I can't put my slinky down anymore because it's breaking. I keep playing with it too much and it's coming undone. The E, to me, when I place a sound, it feels like I'm pushing here. So it does feel like there's a little mini dip here in where the E is. Maybe that's what you're referring to. That's just the articulation of the sound. But for some reason, I don't see the dip at all. Is that normal? Why I do see the dip in the front of the tongue, but for some reason I don't see the dip at all. That's a little confusing. I don't know if that was a grammar issue. Maybe you can clarify that. Did I miss anything? I'm trans. That's the purpose of the stream. I'm also talking about English. So I don't know. If you missed it, now you know. There's a minute audio issue, or minute. Yeah, minute and minute are spelled the same. There's a minute audio issue, but no, it's totally good. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm almost caught up. What's that new revelation about accents you talked about in the beginning? Oh yeah, the new the new update. It's not like, well, I guess it is revelation. I don't remember exactly how I said it, but I can get to that in a second. I'll type it here. It's the 10-step 10-step posture process. I should probably call it a framework, but yeah, the 10-step posture process. I need a cooler name. We'll get into that in a second, and we'll maybe tie off the stream with that. I still have, what is it, like a hour and a half? What is it, 3? Yeah, an hour and a half. Okay. I don't want to take all the time until my class, but we can do most of it. Let me catch up here. Japan fits you better. Not trying to push my ideology here. Fine, I won't go to Vietnam. No. Yeah, like as I said, I don't particularly believe in a soul, but if reincarnation exists, which in some sense I think it does, even though I don't believe in souls, that's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. But if it does, I'm pretty sure in my past life I was Japanese. Like I'm like 99% sure. So yeah. Anyway, how much do you charge monthly for your course? Maybe I'm just a crazy otaku, right? How much do you charge monthly for your course? So I don't charge monthly. I charge on a class-by-class basis through italki. It's not like a thing that you like go to a website and buy and whatever. And there are various reasons why I do it that way. We don't have to get into that, but yeah, it's $48 an hour right now. It will be going up at some point in I don't know how near of the future, but probably by the end of the year, it will probably be going up. If you get in before that, I'm not necessarily just going to like jack it up on you when it goes up, but depending on how long we continue taking classes after that, I probably will eventually bump it up on you anyway. So if you want to get in while it's still relatively cheap, then because I could easily, like, once I get this down and I'm like, bam, 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 I know, like, I can get the average person from A to Z in like X amount of time, and I have the data to like back all that up. I could easily charge like one, two, $300 an hour, which I'm probably not going to go that far. But I think italki allows you to charge $120 an hour. They recently updated it. So if I wanted to stay on italki, I couldn't even go past that. But yeah, it will be increasing from 48 to at least 60, 65, maybe a little more than that. That's per hour. Okay. Is that an Nezuko blanket? Like, it is a Nezuko blanket. Yes. Also, I have the matching pillowcase, as you can see. Yeah, I love it. It's hard to see the whole thing. I'll go this way. Ta-da! Yeah, I love Nezuko. As I said, like, I have this little thingy here. I even have. I got a Nezuko like cosplay costume. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, like Nezuko is awesome. But that's neither here nor there. Do I have anything else Demon Slayer? I don't know. I have a Demon Slayer shirt, but anyway. I lost myself. I love slaying demon. Demon Slayer, yeah. Slaying demon. As depends on how you translate it. But is it difficult to master your accent? Is your native language? If your native language is Russian, have I had Russian students? Literally in my entire English teaching career, Russian students have been at least half of the students that I worked with. For some reason, I don't know why. I get a lot of Russian students. So yes, I worked with a lot with Russian students way before, like, even from like my very first student that I ever had as an informal tutor on italki, before I even had my teaching, like professional teaching certificate or whatever, was a Russian. So yeah. I don't know all the details of Russian posture, but I've worked with quite a few Russians on posture. In fact, my most advanced student right now is a Russian speaker, and she's doing fantastic. So I do have a good idea, but most languages share certain postural features relative to American English. Like the tongue tends to be held higher, pushed farther forward, tensed up and forward. Like most languages do that to some degree compared to American English, because we're just so like down, back, tensed this way. Arabic is the only language I found that is even farther back than we are in the tongue. All the other languages are to some degree pushed forward. So even if I don't know the exact details of your exact language, I do know the patterns and the trends, and I also have my trusty ears. So even if I've never worked with your language before, I will be able to sort out what your problems are, where they're coming from. Sometimes I'll hear tension in the jaw, or that your jaw's kind of pushed out of place. Hindi speakers tend to do that a lot. I'll hear like how you're using the front of the tongue. I'll hear if you're like tensed forward, or sometimes it's hard to hear if you're too high, but you will sound better if you get lower. So I don't have perfect ears necessarily, but I usually have a pretty good idea of like where the problems are. And the 10-step posture process we're about to go through is actually one of my diagnostic tools that you can also use as a diagnostic tool. I'm almost caught up with the comments. Guys, stop commenting so I can catch up. Let's see. Most difficult sounds for Russians. That's a whole other topic. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. But it's less about the sounds that are difficult, and it's more about the posture and figuring out how to use the front of your tongue in a little bit of a different way. That's I would say is the key for Russians. I mean, there's other like generally shared among languages keys, but specifically to Russian, figure out how to use the front of your tongue differently, and you have to just focus on the overall posture. But okay, it's 2:25 a.m. here in Vietnam, so I can't stay for your whole stream. Wish you a fantastic day ahead. I'm looking forward to watching your live stream in the future. Well, good. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do. Eventually, I'll stream here again. I'm gonna die on my bed now. Not literally. Okay, good. Have fun sleeping a deep sleep. Um, as I work on my other channel, Felicity Alexandria, that's my middle name. I love Alexandria as a middle name. I didn't want it to be my first name, but I've always loved that because the library of Alexandria, that was destroyed in history, and we lost so much ancient knowledge. I don't know. I've just always loved the name Alexandria, so I just don't want that to be my first name. But yeah, Felicity Alexandria. I'm going to be posting content there. I don't know if I'm going to live there. I probably will at some point, but yeah, most of my day is like working. Like I'm just trying to make content there. So my day job, yes, I'm teaching English. Content wise, I'm working more on my other thing, and it's mostly Medium blogs. So sorry. But that's where I'm at right now. So, the channel's still up. I'm not going to delete it or anything. Eventually I might come back. I'll still have some updates for you guys and stuff, but there's not going to be a whole lot of action on this channel in the short term, at least. Japan, for the most part, will work for you. I hope so. Can we, for example, pronounce schwa instead of short I? Words like college, privilege, effect, college. Well, to me, I don't even think there's supposed to be a schwa in college. Privilege. That also sounds like an I to me. Effect. Okay, so that would be effect. That one, yes, you can use either one. What does the dictionary say for college? This is, to me personally, like in my personal existence, one of the only good uses of the dictionary for pronunciation is telling me when the I is more of a Western thing. Because to me, I'm like, well, I would use an I there. And usually I'll know that both will happen. But sometimes I'm like, I don't know, can you use the schwa? Because to me, I wouldn't naturally say it that way. If you go to the dictionary, it says that college has the I sound. Actually, it says that. Yeah, the A sound. I said the E sound for a second. So I would say that's just part of the word. So there's not even a schwa in college. You wouldn't say like college. Like maybe some people say it that way. It doesn't sound too bad to me. You got to sort it out. You got to figure it out. I don't know. Figure out what's supposed to be an A, what's supposed to be an and then again, I would just keep your life simple and just reduce to when you're supposed to reduce to. But again, if is part of the word, if it's a core part of the word, usually you can't just change it to an A. In the case of effect, technically the fully enunciated word, which I don't think the dictionary will always say this, but it's effect. What's the effect? Effect. But usually when we have an E, the E vowel, the long E, in an unstressed syllable, it almost always gets reduced, like believe, receive, effect. Okay. It will almost always reduce to like so we have affect, believe, receive. But in those cases, you can also use an I, at least to me, at least in a Western General American accent. I can say effect, believe, receive. Okay. So again, the dictionary won't always tell you that that's the fully enunciated version, but I as a native know. And I don't know if all natives would agree with me, but I've heard it. It sounds natural to do it that way. It's just uncommon to fully enunciate that full E sound. But if you have cases like that, that's a good example where you can reduce to I or and it doesn't really matter. I meant I could see the dip when some Americans pronounce the E vowel, but for some Americans, I can't see that dip when they pronounce E. Sorry. Oh, okay, I see. I don't know. Again, I don't even know how you're seeing the E vowel to begin with. Do you mean the dip in the middle, like the postural dip? Which I really don't see how you would be able to see because even if you could see in the mouth, the front of the tongue is lifted and it would block that view. I'm just really confused about like how you can see that to begin with. I don't know if maybe I'm not understanding exactly what you're describing, but got to go have a good stream. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming by. I feel ignored. Shrizzy. I'm sorry, Shrizzy. I'm trying to get to everybody's comments. What is the last thing Shrizzy said? I still have the 1 through 10 posture process. What did Shrizzy say? Shrizzy. It's glitching for me too. That's the last thing I see you said. Shrizzy. Is it still glitching? Is that what we're talking about? Or did you say something else before? Crap. I don't know what's happening. Question is basically the dip requires when pronouncing the eval. You need the dip in the middle for every sound. That's the short answer. You're the best American English teacher ever. Dear Josh. Oh, Felicity now. Thank you. Josh is no longer my name. But thank you. I asked this. What? Oh, I guess you're going to paste it. I don't know. Why don't you work on your own providing private lessons? Various reasons. italki makes scheduling between time zones very, very easy. I don't have to worry about payment processing and if people are actually going to pay and this and that and whatever. It's just it's a lot easier. If I get to a point where I either want to charge more than $120 an hour or just some other, like I need to expand out more or whatever, then I'll deal with that then. But italki is very sufficient and convenient for my purposes right now. Why the whole world can't speak one language? I know, right? Do you know some Russian words? Da niet vodka. That's it. Literally, that's it. Da niet vodka. I don't even know numbers. I know nothing. Just da niet vodka. That's all you need in Russia, right? What is your philosophy of life, teacher? Well, I'm trying to get to this 1 through 10 thing. So that would be a very big tangent. My philosophy of life is everybody is human and deserves basic human dignity and respect, and that we should all be able to do what we want when we want, as long as we're not hurting anybody. That's my life philosophy. Do you have a link for your new channel? I do. I put my link tree earlier. You can find all of my links through my link tree. I don't know why I'm on that page. That's weird. Share. Copy. That copy. Edit copy. There you go. Fees Dreams. Most places it's under the handle like Fees Dreams. Okay, so apparently I'm never going to catch up with the comments, and I got to get to this 1 through 10 thing. So either people need to stop commenting for a second so I can catch up, or I need to switch to the 1 through 10 thing. Let's see. Still have issues with the hinge concept. Yeah, it's hard for a lot of people. It takes a minute to get the 1 through 10 step process might help with it. Do Americans notice the difference between foreign ch and American ch? We don't tend to notice explicitly. It won't necessarily sound accented. Depends, but it even if it's just the posture underneath that's off, it will contribute to an accent in some subtle way. I've heard that the Spanish R is the same as the flap T, but in fast speech, I don't hear it is. It sometimes sounds like a normal D. So flap T doesn't exist. There's only a flap D. It's always voiced. They are very similar. They're produced very similarly. They're articulated kind of in the same area. I don't know exactly where the Spanish R is because I'm not a native speaker and I haven't completely mastered the sound, but they are very similar. The posture underneath is very different, but this articulation of the sound and the placement of the sound is very similar. So they're not the same though. So if you just try to do like a Spanish R when you're trying to do a flap D, maybe you can get away with it, but like if you have a good posture, but probably you're going to have some sort of issue going on with it. Could you redo this video? Exercises you need to perfect your accent. Okay. So I guess maybe you were ignored because the comment didn't go through because I didn't see any other comment. Sometimes that happens. Exercises you need to perfect your accent American in a higher pitch. Could you redo the video in a higher pitch? Why? You want me to reprocess the video with an altered pitch? I don't understand why. What the purpose of that is. Can I use the high schwa in word schedule? If I remember properly, we can use the high schwa in oo plus ul. So don't trust the spelling. Okay, if it's ul, no. If it's like pull, where it just happens to be set up with an oo, yeah, you could just use the dark L. Schedule, Joel. Yeah, you don't have to say schedule. See, that's schedule. That's actually more articulated. The oo is separate from the dark L. It's not an L colored oo, but you can reduce that to just basically the dark L. It's not even the high schwa. Schedule, like pull. Okay. So we pronounce short I instead of being I being in words like rebuild, refill, regain. Oh yeah. So rebuild, refill, regain, rebuild, refill, regain, rebuild, refill, regain. Yeah, you can use Doesn't really matter. As long as you don't get stress in the first syllable. And also be careful because sometimes those are misleading. Sometimes the re is the stress syllable. In those cases, you can't reduce it. Okay. But usually that's not the stress syllable. So, but my voice is getting too deep and I gain too much vocal fry. Okay, I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, but my voice is getting too deep and I gain too much vocal fry, which is good in American accent, I guess, but I don't like it. I don't know. You got to figure that out. It's pitch dynamics. You don't need to do a vocal fry for an American accent. It's fine if you do, but you don't need to. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I finally caught up. Thank you. 1 through 10 posture process. Okay, let's talk about this. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Oh, I literally do this all day, every day. It's just share my screen, bring up this map. Okay. So you guys have probably seen this in the most recent posture update video. If you've watched that, if not, then congratulations. Here you are. We have a new, nice, cool view of our posture map. Again, this is approximate, especially in this area here. I tried to draw it as best I could, but lining up the teeth was a little bit weird. Okay. What we're going to do is a 10-step posture process, 1 through 10. Now, ideally, your tongue will already kind of more or less be low enough. It's kind of hard to do. We kind of got to work into it through the 10-step posture process, but try to make sure it's not held really high. And then also make sure that the tongue is not pushed forward. If you feel your front teeth here, you're doing something wrong. You should not feel that. You should be pulled back. Okay. Again, going through the 10-step posture process will help you to fully get back all the way, but at least try to make sure that you're, as much as you can, not pushing forward. Okay. So that's just our basic sort of height and backness. We want to try to at least be somewhat moving into place before we begin, because if you don't, then say where the hinge is, this part of the tongue that should be touching the hinge will be like further forward and you're going to kind of be out of place. Okay. So at least try to pull it back a little bit if you can, but don't do it in a way where you're blocking the throat. Just okay. It's ideal. It's not required. Now, before we even do 1 through 10, we're going to create a setup. Okay. So we're going to take the middle of your tongue. So this is both the middle of your tongue, 2 sides of the middle. And I can't see the chat right now, by the way. So if anybody's asking chat, I'm just going to explain this, get through this, and then I'll come and check the chat. So you're going to have this high middle tongue. And if the front is lifted right now, if the back is lifted right now, fine, not a big deal. Don't have it super crazy high, but it's sort of a rough starting point that would be similar to what your posture probably already does with your tongue, more or less. Depends on your exact language, but a lot of languages kind of have a bit of a flatter tongue, bit of a higher tongue. But you want to make sure that you're touching the 4th tooth. Okay, so basically, remember the sides are lifted in the middle. So you're kind of just trying to, instead of having the dip, you're just making it, everything is high in the middle. That's our starting position, okay? Let me actually double check, see if there's any questions about that. No, I don't think so. Good morning. Good morning. It's actually Felicity now. My big announcement is that I'm trans, but welcome. IFAT. It's always a funny name. Yes, welcome. I'm going through the 10-step posture process because people keep asking about that. Okay, so you're going to start there, right? Touch the 4th tooth. Now, this whole process, you cannot leave the 4th tooth. Okay, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure on the corner, not up here, not in here, right on the corner. You got to keep it. Okay. Now, first step, push down in the middle. Don't do really tight. Don't try to make like a tight V. Just push down in the middle. And you're going to try to say, Now, if you were working with me, I could actually hear if you're doing something wrong or whatever. Most likely, as we go through the first 10 steps, you're probably going to have some sort of problem back here because those like steps 6 through 10, that's okay. If you feel a little tightness, you hear a little disturbance, sounds like you're a little closed in the throat, that's okay for now. Just try to make sure that you're producing a little bit better of an sound as you add each step. Okay. So you push down in the middle, you're trying to do the sound. Okay. Just that schwa center of gravity like sound. Okay. That's step 1. Step 2. We're going to take the walls of the side. So now we push down in the middle. You're still touching the 4th tooth with the edge. You're going to take that and you're going to relax wide. Wide is the key idea. It's not necessarily completely relaxed, but you don't want to be like pushing out this way really tightly. You're not trying to create like a rigid shape like that. You're not trying to curl the tongue up like this. No, you're sort of almost hanging off of the fourth tooth and just sort of relaxing wide. Okay. So the middle body will still stay low and then you just widen it. Okay. Still touching the fourth tooth. Very important. Not between, not up here, around the corner. Okay. Now, technically in the you can come slightly off of the tooth as long as you're right, like really, really close to it. You're okay. But I recommend for simplicity and for building up a good base that you actually physically very lightly touch the corner just to make sure that it's there and you're not too far off. Okay. So 1, 2. Okay. And we try to say again. So we go 1, you should sound a little bit better. Okay. Step 3. Okay. And I've written this list out in the house framework document. I'm actually not even using the full house framework anymore. Not that any of the information is wrong or outdated, but I found that this is a much more direct and efficient approach as the 10-step process. I'll also post it in the chat when I'm done. Remind me so I don't forget. But step 3, okay, that's the seatbelt. Okay, so the seatbelt is this muscle under here. It helps make sure your tongue doesn't fall through your jaw. Now, what a lot of languages do is they push up in the seatbelt. Okay, there's like the middle part of the seatbelt, and then there's the sides of the seatbelt. And you can't be pushing up there. Okay, I probably mentioned this in at least 1 or 2 videos at some point. So you can't be pushing up there. Step 3 specifically is the middle of the seatbelt. So just like we had the middle of the tongue, the body there, you're gonna basically do the same thing here. So the number one thing that you cannot do is you cannot push up. If you ever in any sound, even especially these high front sounds, many languages will push even more here. You can't do that. Okay. If anything, you might feel pushing down instead. But if you're just in your okay, if you have any upward tension, it's going to cause problems. So let go of that upward tension that might be in your posture as best as you can. And then actively push down through this middle part here, just like you're pushing down here in the middle of the tongue. But don't push too much, because if you push too much, you're going to start messing with your voice. You're going to go like, okay. You also can't push down and forward here. Sometimes people do that, especially Hindi speakers. They do that very commonly. And then you're like, okay. You can't tense the seatbelt forward in any way. Okay. So not too tight down, not any forwardness or angled forwardness like this. Doesn't work. You just want to kind of go straight down through the seatbelt, but not too hard. Okay. Now don't even worry about 1 and 2 right now. Just focus on 3. Try to feel it. You can put your hand here. This helps. Okay. You go, maybe push down a little bit. Make sure you're not pushing up. Okay. Now you can link 1 and 3 because 1 does this, 3 does this. They're actually, it's kind of the same tension going all the way through the middle, straight from the tongue down into the seatbelt. So you can actually conceptually link them and make sure that they work together. That might help you sound a little bit better still. Okay. Step 4, you're going to take the sides of the seatbelt right here. Okay. So just like we had the sides of the middle of the tongue, we have the sides of the seatbelt. Now, again, a lot of languages, they'll push up, they'll pinch in, they'll push diagonally. Can't do it. It's not good. In no sound do you want to do that. What you're going to do for just the basic is you're going to make sure that you have no upward tension, no inward tension. You're going to let it relax wide, just like we did up here. Let it relax wide. You'll feel it come down a little bit. You'll feel it come out a little bit. It's just sort of hanging out, literally just hanging out. Okay. So that mirrors the 2. So the 1 and the 3 are connected. The 2 and the 4 are connected. Okay. They both relax wide. So you want to just feel that open up. You can put your hands here. Okay. Again, just focus on 1 at a time. Ideally, you want to stack them, but I found that it helps to first focus on them 1 at a time and then try to stack them. So now that you know 1, 2, 3, 4, again, you can connect the 1 and the 3. That helps build it together. You can make sure your 2 and your 4 are both wide and relaxed. It's pretty easy to keep track of both of those. Then you got to try to do 1 through 4, and that's a little harder to keep track of. But if you go, okay, 1, 2, hold it, 3, 4, hold it, or you can do 1, 3, hold it, 2, 4, hold it, whichever works better for you. It's fine, doesn't matter. If you can get all those in place and hold them together, you should start sounding like you're doing a pretty good sound. Now, that in itself will not guarantee it. I've still had people have problems, especially if they're pushing forward from back here, which is a common issue. Or if maybe instead of doing the center of gravity, you end up accidentally putting the sound here in the ah position. That's a common mistake, or somewhere in between the and the ah. Sometimes people end up over here, or maybe even in rare cases up in like the start of I somehow. You're still in the middle. So you're not doing anything objectively wrong, but we do want the sound itself to be placed more in this back half of the middle. My experience is that when people do the 1 through 4, usually for most people, they just naturally kind of settle into the which is great. If that doesn't happen for you, just know that you got to do the right sound. And step 5, the next sound or the next step, is going to help you actually fully engage the correct sound. Okay. So if you're not getting it in 1 through 4, the 5 will help. Okay. Let me double check the comments, see if there's any questions. Sharing so you don't see an infinite screen mirror. So you pronounce short, blah, 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 blah. Any questions not related directly to what I just talked about, I'm going to come back to. I was about to ask about the announcement. Okay, hello, El Tio. Welcome. Okay, so no questions about that. That's fine. If you do have any questions, go ahead and leave them. I'll try to get to all the questions before the stream ends, but we'll continue on from there. Okay, so, and I will probably try to cut this section of the stream out and post it as a separate video. Again, I'm going to paste the 10 steps as well, so that you have that reference. So this isn't the first and last time you'll see this. You can also rewatch the stream, so don't worry about it. But that's 1 through 4. Step 5. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about either the stabilization column or the wall, which I don't know if I had the concept of the wall when I made that update video, but I do know I had the stabilization column idea. So if you've watched the latest video, the posture update video, then you might be vaguely familiar with this concept. But you have to understand the stabilization column / wall in order to understand 5 and how it works. Okay. So this line here, again, this is approximate, but this line here, that's sort of roughly separates the middle of the tongue from the back of the tongue. This is called what I call the stabilization column. If I pay attention to this line as I'm speaking, I notice that it's almost like, not exactly like, it's not super rigid, but it's almost like a metal rod that's just placed right there along that line, and everything else kind of moves around it. Like the back cannot pass through it, the middle cannot pass through it. Okay, it's a part of the posture. I've even had cases of people where I can hear that they're not pushing this forward, but they're pushing the back of the tongue forward into the wall, and they actually start bending the wall. There's actually a sort of certain quality that you produce if you start doing that. So I know for a fact that it's there. I have enough experience to say that. So you should feel, and you might not feel it at first, but you should feel that there's some sort of stability through here if your posture is working. Okay. In addition, there's the 9 here, which we'll come back to. But if we combine these two, you should feel sort of like you have this through the back of your mouth as a nice, good, stable posture. We'll come back to the 9. Now, the stabilization column goes from all the way at the top of the tongue down through into the bridge area. The bridge is a term that I invented. It links the seatbelt with the rest of the throat. You won't find that anywhere else. That's actually the 6. We're going to come back to the 6. Okay. But it does go all the way down. The wall, however, the wall concept, there's a reason I call it the wall, and you'll see why. That specifically only refers to the part through the tongue. Okay, we don't have to go all the way down. So if we clean this up a little bit so we can see better, we're kind of just talking about this section here. Okay, so that's the part we're going to work with right now for step 5. Okay. Now you have to understand that there's 2 sides to the wall. There's what's in front of the wall, and there's what's behind the wall. Now, the front half of the mouth does not affect the wall. We don't care. I can't say that it doesn't affect the wall because you do have to stabilize the wall in those sounds, but it's not the front half of the tongue is not part of the structure of the 5. it's not attached to that piece. That's, we have our 1 through 4, and then the front of the tongue is just kind of there. Okay. So it's basically like from the center of gravity through the back of the tongue. Okay. And so I just kind of generally circle this area. That's the 5. Okay. Now, as I said, the middle cannot go through the wall, and we can't bend the wall this way. That's not going to work. And of course, we're not pushing this way. We're going to be pushing this way off of the wall, but we know that we can't bend it this way either. Okay. So what's going to happen is that there's a 0, which is the basic posture tension settings. Okay. Remember, I talked in the update video about directional tension. Our posture goes this way, and this way. Okay. Your posture, very likely, what most languages do instead is you go this way. Okay. We have to reverse that. So getting the 5 will help you to engage the proper direction, lower the tongue more, bring it back a little bit more. But it's not just the position, it's also actively engaging and keeping that direction without adding your native posture direction. But anyway, if we build the 0, that's just the basic directional tension and position that we need for the sort of relaxed, neutral position for our posture. And then we can take that scale and go all the way up to 100. And this is a little advanced right now, but I'm giving you this so that you have the full picture of the wall. Okay. If I'm just doing an if you're not down and back enough in the sound, you won't sound like you're doing exactly the right sound. It'll sound maybe shallow. It'll sound like it's not quite fully formed. Or you might actually be doing a slightly different sound. Okay. In addition, with the back of the tongue, if you're not fully engaged, right, even if you're not pushed forward, if you're not fully engaged, your quality is going to maybe be a little bit off for this section. I like to think of it as a like a rubber band. I was using a hair tie before, but I lost my hair tie, so I'm going to use this awesome LGBT bracelet because I'm cool like that. What your language tends to do is this. Okay, and I don't know, am I even sharing my screen? Hold on. Huh, I'm not. People are like, yeah, your screen isn't shared. Sorry. I was just talking all the time without sharing my screen. At least you were seeing me. That's good, right? So you can see the band. Okay, let's talk about the band really quick. For context, that was a major fail. No, don't stop this stream. Share screen. Okay. Sorry. That's my fault. Sorry. Okay. 5, center of gravity, wall, back of tongue. The wall is right here. Okay. I don't want to re-explain all that. I'm sorry. There's a description for it. You can read the description. But we're talking about, this is the front of the wall. This is the back of the wall. They both have to go the same way through the center of gravity, through the back of the tongue. This line is the wall here. That's the top of the stabilization column. Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you can see me while I'm sharing my screen. It does look like I'm down in the corner. Stop sharing anyway, just to be safe. Okay. She'll realize it. Thank you for saying she. I appreciate that. Okay. Your posture would be like this. So you tend to tense up and forward like that. Cool. Right. Okay. Then what we do is, obviously we're not doing that. Our 0, our basic posture setting, is just this. Okay. So there's no slack in it. It's just engaged. Okay. Maybe you're not pushing into your posture, but maybe you're not engaged enough to 0, in which case you would be like below 0 in that scale of 0 to 100. So you need to engage it enough for the make sure you're in position, you have the right tension settings. Okay. That's 0. That's the For the you just have to worry about doing the That's fine. You have 1 through 4 and 5. We have the other steps as well. We try to get the as the basic posture first. Now, if you are to do another sound, any other sound, then will have some degree of resistance in the wall on both sides. Okay. So that means the center of gravity is going to try to dig in a little bit more. It can't go through the wall, but it's going to sort of scoop itself into the wall a little bit. And the back of the tongue is going to sort of push off of the wall and try to keep itself down and back in place. It's not actually really moving necessarily, but you're going to feel the tension shifting, sort of tightening up so that it stays in place. The 5 is the core stabilizing feature of the American English posture. Everything is just stabilized through here. The other pieces, depending on the sound that you're doing, will need to sort of stabilize and get a little resistance here and there. But the 5 will always have at least a little bit of resistance in every sound except for okay? So just as an example of that, if I do an E has quite a bit of tension. I would say it's about 70% wall resistance. So you're going to say, okay, your is here, your E is here. Okay, again, you're not physically moving it, you're just adding that resistance to keep it in place, keep it low, keep the center of gravity from being pulled forward. Nice and good. Okay. Um, there are only 2 sounds that are 100% resistance. That's which is one reason why is so hard to do, and as in book, the high schwa, which is another reason why is so hard to do. Okay. You need maximum posture resistance in the wall and in pretty much everything for those pieces. All the 10 steps you're going to need to resist for those 2 sounds to some degree, but 100% in the wall. And then the I would say is like 110, 120%. It's its own little weird thing. But yeah, it's at least 100 as well. Everything else is like maybe 90, 80. You don't have to get an exact number, but and if you work with me, we can go through those exact sounds and what does what. But anyway, I need to go back, make sure I'm sharing. Nope, that's not what I want. Entire screen. Okay. So good. We are sharing. Double check. Yes, we're sharing. Okay, good. Anyway, hopefully you get the point there. Sorry, I wasn't sharing for a second. But all you're trying to do right now in your 5 is make sure that you are down and back enough here into the wall, not pushing really hard, just sort of engaged enough to where you're set into the wall in a basic 0 level way. And then make sure that the tongue is low enough. It usually helps to lower your tongue further, which the 6 will also help. But make sure the tongue is low enough, make sure it's back enough, and try to engage tension in this direction off of the wall. So that way you're nice and fully in place. And if you do it correctly, your should sound a little bit better. If it doesn't sound a little bit better, either you were already at 0 and something else is causing the problem, or you're not doing it right, right? Or you're not doing it enough. But that's the 5. Okay. The 6. The 6 is here. Now, one thing I don't show on this map is the larynx and the pharynx because it would be too messy. But the larynx is sort of this area in the front here, around sort of like Adam's apple, up in here in this area, and which I'm very familiar with now because I have to raise it to try to sound like a girl, which is very annoying. But that's beside the point. Which that's an interesting thing. Like I have to not change some of my posture settings to try to sound like a girl, but I have to modify the placement of some things, which is leading me to some interesting questions and observations. But we don't need to worry about all that right now. Just follow my basic advice. I know this stuff works. I work with people all the time. Okay. So, but the 6, okay. The 6 specifically is not necessarily the whole larynx, but it's going to be this section right here. It's going to be the bridge. Okay. Now you got to make sure that you don't push into the seatbelt again. We can't tense this forward. You can push into it in the sense that like maybe you're trying to sort of bubble into it. But if you get any forward tension in the seatbelt, you're going to have a problem. So what I've learned is the easiest way to do this is you want to bring this section down because your language probably holds it a little bit higher, a little bit tighter, pushing this way. So no upward tension, no inward tension on this section. Okay. You want it to come down. Okay. You want it to come wide. Those are the 2 most important things. Okay. Let it come down and open it up wider. Okay. It is possible to widen in the wrong way or to push out too tensely. You need a little bit of engagement, but it should be kind of relaxed. Just let it widen, let it open up and then hold it there. A little bit of engagement to hold it wide, low and wide. And then, although it isn't always necessary to add, sometimes that's not sufficient. And I tell people to, okay, try to sort of scoop a little bit under the seatbelt so you get a little bit of forwardness to open up the space a little bit more. And usually that helps if you do it right. So there is maybe a forward component to it that you can add, but the biggest gain is going to be from coming down and wide. Okay. That's the 6. Now, if you don't have that right, or if you're too tight in that area, you're probably going to be having a knock-on effect through here, which is going to slightly push the tongue up, tense the tongue this way. So your 5 might technically be okay, but your 6 is sort of pushing against it. that can happen. So if you're having trouble, like, okay, I think my 5's in place, I think my 6 is in place, something doesn't sound right, maybe you're actually sort of pushing up or too tight in the 6, and that's causing a knock-on effect. It's one thing to check. Okay. The 7. The 7 is a soft palate. Okay. Um, and from or with the soft palate, often I don't need to worry too much about this. Maybe when we're getting in and out of nasal sounds, but it kind of depends on your language. Vietnamese speakers tend to have a problem with it. Thai speakers will tend to have a problem with it. I've never actually worked with a Thai speaker. I don't think. Oh, well, I did before posture, but I do know that Thai, if I remember right, Thai is more nasally. If you are a Japanese speaker, you might have a little problem with it. If you're a Russian speaker, you might have a little problem with it, depending. So, and French speakers and Portuguese speakers in particular, you will have a problem with it. um, I don't usually have too much to say about this. Again, this is the 7. We actually often kind of skip the 7 because even if there is a little problem with it, it's usually not that big of a problem. It doesn't create that big of a distortion. But if it is something that you need to address, you want to try to sort of close the space a little bit, because a lot of languages, when the tongue comes up and forward, this will actually sort of go maybe down and back or down and forward. It kind of loosens up a little bit, and you get a little bit more nasality, which is fine for your language, but not necessarily for ours. So uh, the easiest way that I found to kind of try to hack this is to do a yawn. Okay, so if you right. So you'll feel the soft palate sort of come up, right? And then if you could hold that, like you're stuck in a yawn, now your voice sounds weird. So if you could just hold the soft palate there and let the rest of your voice do the other 10 steps properly, you won't sound like your voice is weird, but your soft palate will roughly kind of stay up and back in place. It's tricky to do, but that's the best way I found to kind of try to address that issue. So if you have a problem with nasality, uh, do that. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's probably going to be a minor problem for most people anyway. The 8. So the 8 is the pharynx. Now there are 3 parts to the pharynx. There's the nasopharynx, which is the part that goes up into the nose. Pharynx is sort of like this back area of your throat through here, right? So there's the part that kind of goes up into your nose. That is related to the 7. Okay, so that's more territory of the 7. The 8, so we have the oropharynx. Oro, right? Naso is nose, oro is mouth, oral, right? And so this is like the back of your mouth, kind of extending down a little bit to behind your tongue. So this is all the oropharynx, very important area. And then, there's also the what is it called? I used the wrong color there, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Hypopharynx, hypo meaning below or under, and that would be sort of through this section here, and it kind of tapers off this way a little bit. So that's sort of like behind the larynx a little bit. The 8 is pretty much the oropharynx. Technically, it includes the hypopharynx, but we really focus a lot on the oropharynx, especially the space up here, because this will give you better resonance if you're nice and open, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so what do we do with the 8? Okay, again, this is part of the 7. All of this, especially the purple part, is the 8. So don't confuse those. What we do with the 8, this is very important. And this is probably going to help a lot of you guys because you're like, I always sound closed. I sound tight, whatever. Okay. You wanted to do 3 things. 2 are most important. The least important thing is you want it to come down a little bit. Okay. If you get everything else working, including the 9 and the 10, that should happen more or less naturally. Just make sure you're not pushing up. If you're a Japanese speaker, you push up really high and tight. Most languages, they push up, they push in, they push up, and they tighten, they squeeze. Okay. Japanese does this in an extreme way, but most languages have some degree of that. So you want to make sure that you're not, number one, you're not pushing through here this way, right? That's the 6. But you want to make sure that you're not pushing up. Okay, there's no up. There's no up here. 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 Well, okay, here, the 7th, yeah, you can go up. That's the only exception. When you articulate a sound, yes, you can lift parts of the tongue, but the posture is always pulling down. That's very important, okay? So there's no upwardness in the posture anywhere. Not in your tongue, not in your throat, nowhere, okay? So in the 8, everything will kind of it'll come down with everything else, basically. Okay. You usually don't have to push it too much, just don't push it up. More importantly, in the 8, so there's the width angle and then there's the backness angle. Okay, because we have forward versus back, up versus down, and then wide versus narrow in the tongue and in the throat. We already saw that the tongue tends to be wider. We saw that we're trying to open the throat here a little bit, make it wider. We're going to do the same thing in the 8, except we're not pushing forward. Okay, the only thing that can push forward is this part, the 6. Okay, otherwise, in the rest of it, you're pushing this way. Now, you might ask, how can I push the back of my throat backwards? Well, you have muscles, okay, through this area here and along the back of your throat. You have muscles here. You also have muscles along the side, which we can't really see because it's a flat 2D image, but there's muscles here. There's muscles in the back. Okay. What you want to do, number 1, step 1, okay? After maybe you bring it down a little bit, don't worry too much about the down. You're going to widen, okay? Again, just like the 6, it is possible to widen too much or too tightly or whatever, but you're going to get lots of space. Just open it up, okay? And then the sides and the back are pinching forward. So even if you widen it, you're still probably pinched forward. We can't do that, okay? So in addition to widening the sides, you're going to try to pull the sides back and you're going to try to take these muscles in the back of your throat and also pull them back. So if your language is like this, you're trying to do this. Now you have lots of space, okay? All through the pharynx, especially in the back of the mouth. I can't see my mouse. Especially in the back of the mouth here, but the whole pharynx, okay? Open it up. Think of it like a bird spreading its wings. So you get like, you're like here. I'm trying not to hit my mic. You're like here, and then you just, right, open up those wings, okay? That's the 8, okay? So wide, back, open, and then it'll come down a little bit, okay? That solves a lot of problems. Now, usually when people get to the 8, they start losing the 1 through 4 and the 5. You got to eventually stack them together. Okay. Takes a little practice, sort of wiggle your way into weaving the pieces together. The 9, let me double check if we have any questions about the posture right now. I'm definitely going to run out of time before my class to get to all these comments. I don't understand anything. Maybe it's because I'm not into mouth posture yet. Probably, yeah. Yeah, you have a lot of catching up to do. I'm sorry I said Josh, I didn't know. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. You were here late, so okay, so no questions about what we're talking about. I don't see any there. Maybe I'm skipping over something, but my very good friend shorthand professor is also now trans. Well, she is now Jessica. I mean, I guess maybe she goes by he, him pronouns. That's possible, but yeah, that's cool. Okay, so back to this. Number 9. Okay. I really hate that I can't see my mouse. Okay. Number 9 is going to be sort of a link between the 6 and the bottom of the 8. This is where the bottom of the 8 is most important, is in the 6 or in the 9. What we're doing here, we want to create sort of a base here. I originally called it, I think in the house framework document, the upside down base. That was kind of confusing to people. So you don't have to think about it as upside down. It doesn't matter. Just there's a base here. Okay. This affects the local flow of the voice through the area. And if you don't have it right, you're probably going to sound a little bit weird in your voice, and you might also be pushing up against your posture, and we don't want that. So what we're trying to do here is kind of a lot of the same things we've already been talking about in the throat. This again is going to go maybe forward a bit. This is going to go back a bit. The sides are going to go wide, and everything is going to come down. So we have every direction except for up. No upward tension. Okay. You want to let it come down because the 6 is coming down, the 5 is coming down, the 8 is coming down, everything's coming down. So it should just already be kind of down, right? And then you're going to go forward, back, wide, all 4 directions there. And we're going to sort of, it's like you're taking a pipe and then you take the end of the pipe and you're trying to like stretch it out and down in all directions, just a little bit, not too tight. Sort of stretch it out a little bit like that. That'll give you a nice good bass here. Which I forgot. You're supposed to test at every point. I forgot that. So we do the 5, you do the 6, okay. You're always trying to test and see if it improves it. But anyway, yeah, you stretch it out. So now you might again lose track of the 1 or the 2 or the 3 or the 4, and then you're going to start sounding weird because of that. But in the short term, do you at least sound better here? Okay. If you're doing the 8, do you at least sound better and more open and clearer through here? Okay. Because if you can't stack everything at the beginning, you're not going to just sound perfect by the time you get all 10 done, but you should hear improvement in that area. Okay. That's the 9. The 10 is the middle of the throat leading to the bottom where our voice placement is. Okay. And that's why I have this. I bought this specifically for the 10 to demonstrate the 10. And the reason why is because when I started teaching the 10, to me, it feels and it looks like a slinky. That's what we call this, a slinky in English. Okay. Mine's getting destroyed because I'm constantly playing with it, but it's not that you push down. Okay. It's not that you pull down. We don't really want to do that. Okay. It might also kind of relax a little bit open. That's fine. But the main thing you want to do through the middle, and this will help you get your voice placement lower towards the bottom of the throat, is like, let's say this is like too much, right? But let's say that this part right here is like the top of your throat. I'm pretty sure you see. So let's make sure that, so this part right here is like the top of your throat. So ignore the rest of it, right? So what you're going to do, your language, what it does is it pushes upward tension to help support all of that upward tension in the rest of the posture. And then of course that tends to raise your voice placement up here. You get squeezed, you get high and tight. Maybe if you speak like Vietnamese or Thai or something, maybe you have a little bit more nasal placement. It really squeezes the voice placement up. But most languages will have some sort of upward tension here in the 10. Okay. What American English does, I think British English, even to some extent, might do that a little bit. I'm not sure. We share a lot of the same posture features with British English, but obviously there's some differences. But what you want to do is you want to just let it decompress. That's the key idea. Let the middle of the throat from the 9 decompress down to the bottom of the throat. Just let it go. Just like a coil. Don't pull it. Don't push it. Just let it hang. Let everything just settle down. Okay. Now you have to hold it there. Okay. So you do have to engage it. Make sure your voice stays low, because your brain is going to want, as soon as you say something, as soon as you use your voice, it's going to want to push it up. Okay. So you have to be watchful of it. The 10 by itself is enough to either add tension that we don't want and everything else will sound fine, or it can have, again, a chain effect, maybe through the 6, through the 8, through the 5, and it'll actually push up against those pieces, even if those pieces themselves are low and in place. So you have to be very watchful of any upward tension through the entire vocal tract, but especially in the throat. Okay, that's the 10-step posture process. Now, I do want to give you guys one more little bonus thing there, which is like, that's fine as a description. That's fine for getting a perfect but it can also help you with every single sound. Because remember, the posture isn't just for the it's for every sound. So we're going to use E as a simple example. And I'm going to try not to take too much time with this, because when I do this live, we can easily take like 20 minutes just on comparing the E and the But we're going to do E as in beat or eat. Okay. And we're going to compare this with the So what you want to do, if your is good, remember, we build the first for a reason. That's your basic posture. You don't have to worry about resisting or doing any other sounds. You just get in the Does it sound good? Great. Provided you have those 10 steps working in the at least mostly. You don't have to be perfect yet. You can continue to refine it, but you should be doing the right sound, and you should sound more or less in place pretty clear. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start in the and you're just going to focus on the 1, just the 1, not everything, not the 1, 2, 3, just the 1. That was our first step here. Okay. Now, if you have the other steps going, that's perfect. That's ideal. Fine. But you're consciously just going to direct your attention to the 1. Okay. And remember, posture is constant. So that means that in the E, that 1 should still be the same. The shape should still be there. Now, what does the E do? The E is on the back half of the front, sort of towards the middle of the front line here. And it's going to lift up and it's going to be placed somewhere around here. Again, remember, this is approximate on the map. Don't think it's exactly pinpoint, but it's going to be around here-ish. Okay. So we say E, E. Now, number one, you got to make sure you form the sound correctly, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. E's are pretty similar. Usually there's not too big of a deal. You might need to change the articulation a little bit. We're going to ignore that. We're going to assume you're articulating it okay. Now, what this is going to do, because you're lifting the front of the tongue, especially this section here, it's going to want to pull on your shape. Because remember, that shape goes through the whole middle. It goes from the center of gravity all the way to the hinge. So it's going to end kind of right here. That's where the middle starts. But the E is going to want to say, no, because I'm lifting up, I want to pull this up and flatten it out. You can't do that. If you do that, you're going to lose space. You're going to lose quality. You're not going to sound good. So what you need to do instead is, in order to keep this step one, just step one, it's going to want to try to pull up and flatten out the posture in the front. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to add some resistance, like kind of like we talked about the resistance in the wall. Okay. You just add more of the same to keep it there, depending on the sound we're doing. You're going to have to add a little resistance here at the front of your shape. So you will, if you do it correctly, in order to keep the same number one shape, you're going to feel a little bit of downward tension trying to keep the front of that shape in place. Okay. And you can go E, E. Okay. That's how you're going to maintain that piece of the posture in the E. Right. Go to step two. And we check, okay, we say, make sure we're nice and wide. We're pretty relaxed. We're still touching the fourth tooth. Okay, everything's in place. Good sounding, And then we say, okay, if I do the E, what happens? So you try to do the E, maybe your two wants to do this. Maybe it wants to do this. Maybe it wants to do this. Who knows? So again, in the two, I go, E. I do feel a little bit of resistance in the two to try to keep it low and wide. Okay, it's not super tight. Can't add too much tension, but it just resists enough to keep the placement, keep the shape. Okay. Okay, now your one and your two are working. Again, we're just looking at one at a time. Just focus on the one, then focus on the two. We come down to the three. Now, the three is very important because, as I mentioned earlier, what a lot of languages do when they try to lift the front of the tongue is they'll take the three and they'll push it up to help lift the front of the tongue. We don't lift the front of the tongue that way. We use the hinge. Okay. And we dig in here in order to provide some support in the back, in our back posture. And then we use it like a door hinge. Okay. So what we'll actually do instead in the three, remember the three shouldn't be pushed up in the It should just be kind of low, engage down a bit. So if you're like, okay, when you go to the E, one of two things is going to happen. It's not necessarily right or wrong, but one of two things is going to happen. Cannot push up. That's not an option. You will either feel no change, which is fine, or more likely, you're actually going to feel a downward push. Okay, so if you put your finger here, it really helps to put your hand here because you can feel it better. Even me, if I don't put my hand here, I can't feel it very well. So I go E, E, E. You can kind of see it moving down a little bit, pushes down a little bit. Okay, why down? Well, number one, we can't push up to do that. We're operating things differently. That would break the posture. It would cause a distortion. They go like E, 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 changes the sound, kind of messes with my five, messes with my space back here. You can't do that. But we push down. My theory is that most of it, if not all of it, is because since the five, remember, we have the resistance in the five. The E is about, say, maybe 70% resistance, maybe 80% resistance at the most, but that's quite a lot of resistance. That's more than 50%. So we're already digging in with the five, quite a lot, right? Because of that, well, what's happening? The center of gravity is trying to scoop into the wall. The back of the tongue is trying to hold itself down and back. And if you go transition, if you go, it's an equal and opposite reaction. So the more that the front lifts, the more that you'll resist. Okay. And it'll feel like the back of the tongue is trying to scoop like this. Okay. Now you can't actually push it forward, but you'll feel something sort of like that sensation. Okay. So if you get the wall going and you're trying to scoop down like this, well, what's going to happen? It's actually going to end up pushing into the three. Weird, right? It's like everything's connected. And so You cannot push up, but you can push down. Okay. You want to double check all your front sounds. Now, some sounds like the high back sounds or even the you can feel something you can feel the 3 coming up, but it's not pushing up from the 3. It's because the tongue here it's pulling the 3 with it. And so it should still feel relaxed, not like you're pushing, but if you feel it come up a little bit physically, that's not necessarily a problem. It depends on the exact sound we're talking about, right? Okay. Then the 4. Okay, what's the 4? The 4 is also in the seatbelt, right? We have nice and wide here. So we go E, E, E. So again, we cannot feel any pushing up. We cannot feel any pinching inward. None of that. That's not good English posture. Okay. So what we're going to do instead is we know that it needs to be wide and relaxed. So either A, you will feel no change, or more likely, just like the 3, you'll actually feel it sort of push down and out a little bit to sort of stabilize itself. Okay. And that little tension pushing down in the 3 and the 4 helps us get also a little bit of a better base here, which has a knock-on effect, like we're digging in here to help lift the front. It's like we're like pushing off this way instead of trying to lift up this way. Okay. So that's another reason why I think it pushes down, but I think it's mostly the 5 stabilizing things. So you feel a little bit, not too tight, not too much, but you should feel either no change or a little bit pushing down and out in the case of the 4. Makes sense? Okay. Now you can also go to the 5. Now we know with the 5, we just have to get enough resistance on both sides. That's sort of its own special little thing that you go E, E. If you don't have enough resistance, you'll sound a little weird, but maybe that's because of a different step. It's kind of hard to tell. I have a pretty good ear to know if you have enough of the 5. Okay, especially the center of gravity. At first, you won't have that ear. So that's one of the benefits of working with me. I can usually tell right away, nope, you need more 5. Okay. So that's that. And then again, from there, the basic technique that I use first is we go 1 through 4 plus 5. So first we just go step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, to E, or whatever the sound you're working on is. Could be could be doesn't really matter. And you make sure the 1 is good, the 2 is good, the 3 is good, the 4 is good, and then you can make sure the 5 is good. Okay. But then again, we can stack 1 and 3. Okay, so as you go E, you know that you're going to be pushing down and resisting. In the case of E, you're going to be resisting the front part here, and you're going to be pushing through here a bit. There's almost actually sort of a line of tension here that the E gets in the resistance of the posture. So now you're starting to actually make a map, tying things together, right? This is just for the E sound. This exact relationship will be true from I upward. So I, E, Y, the Y sound, the T, the S, any of these high sounds in here, they'll do something similar through this section. Once you get down to that doesn't really happen as much anymore because we don't need to resist those parts of the posture. Anyway, the point is that you can start combining things. Okay, my 1 is intact all the way through. My 3 is intact all the way through. They're sort of still linked together in the and the E. You can kind of focus on both of them at the same time. Go to your 2 and your 4 E. You can monitor them both at the same time. Remember, a little resistance in the 2, little resistance in the 4. Tie them together. Tie 1, 2, 3, 4 together. Okay. Stacking them is the hard part. But if you spend some time making sure your is good and then doing individually and then stacking 1 through 4, and not all 10, just 1 through 4, sound A, sound B, sound C, sound E, it's going to snowball and you're going to start feeling, okay, yeah, this is how I resist. This is how I keep the shape. You're just keeping the setting. Okay. You'll feel a difference in the resistance, but the settings should stay the same. Okay. As the shape especially should stay the same. Then you add the 5. Okay, you try to stack the 5 with the 1 through 4. That's a little trickier. Okay. The next step after that, I'm still exploring. This is a relatively new tool that I've just been exploring with people, and it's so powerful. It's helping so many people already, but I haven't linked all 10 steps together in this exact process yet. But I think the next step would be like, okay, if your 1 through 4 is working and you can get the 5, which again is the key stabilizing part of the posture, then you say, okay, let me ignore the 1 through 4 for a second, and let me make sure my 6 is good. And then tie the 5 and the 6 together, because the 6 commonly will try to push up against it. So if everything's low, everything's wide, everything's in place, you have your center of gravity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Bam. Okay. Now these two are working together as one piece. And then you can try to say, okay, let me try to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as one big unit. I think that's the next logical step. 7, again, we don't necessarily have to care about all the time. You kind of just got to work that in as best you can. Getting to the 8, the 9, and the 10, I haven't gotten that far with anybody with this exact approach. Everybody right now is going through the 1 through 4 plus 5. So I don't have much else to say on like what would be the most optimal, like how do you tie in the 8 and stuff. But if you at least know what the settings are, you can always like, you know, maybe you think everything's going pretty good, but you feel like your 8 is a little squeezed or something. Just okay, try to hold everything the way it is and just open that 8. You can always target the individual pieces and just try to hold everything else that you're doing. So that's the way I would recommend doing it, in absence of like a perfect step-by-step stacking structure that I'm trying to build here. But hopefully that's you. Let me see if I can catch up on the comments. I am running out of time. My class is in less than 30 minutes. And I want a little break, like maybe a 5-10 minute break before that. So let's try to finish this up. Wow, 3 hours. We're going good. Oh yeah, let me give you guys the actual list, the written list here. This spells everything out for the most part. You can always go to the house framework document if you want any of these. The list is too long to paste according to YouTube. Okay. You can always go to that, and let me just give you the house framework document because it's at the top of that. So if you don't have that already, you can just go to this link, share with others, copy. There's lots of details. The house framework document is very big and unwieldy and overwhelming, and I need to kind of like update and optimize and simplify, condense some pieces. But the 1 through 10 step process is there, and if there's anything that you're not sure about, there is further explanation of the pieces through the document. And so you have more information that you can access. Just don't get overwhelmed by the whole document. It's like 11 pages long. You'll also notice that there's a step 0, which is breathe in with a sharp. You have to breathe in correctly, sharp, quick breath inward, get a lot of air in your lungs, and then engage the diaphragm. And that goes into the breathing mechanics. Okay. That's the way that I found to most optimally build that into the posture structure in a relatively simple way, but you do need to know how the breathing mechanics work. I have a couple little minor updates on that, but you know, the video, the Joker video I did covers a lot of those details pretty well anyway. So we won't talk about that here. But if you work with me, we will go over those details. Okay. Let's see if I can catch up here. Learning to sing while learning marriage. Yeah, singing can be useful. It can also cause problems in certain sounds, but overall, it's a good tool. I don't usually recommend it for practicing pronunciation or for improving the pronunciation, but for practicing in a general way, yes, singing can be useful. What do you think of these animated mouth and tongue diagrams for American sounds? They're one tool. They can be useful, but everything is limited. Everything has its limited use. Um, I don't have much time to dive into that too much, but yeah, I mean, I have my own tongue diagram, obviously, but it gives you an idea, right? Like posture isn't something like if you go to like those MRI scans and stuff, you can't see the posture because there's a tension structure underneath, and you won't usually like you might see the placement and stuff and how things kind of move around, but you won't really see like the engagement of the tension and like how open the throat is and stuff, like how all the little muscles are working. So all of them are sort of limited in scope. Okay, anyway. Can a Native American English teacher or teenager, can a Native American English teenager make a British accent? Well, anybody can make a British accent, especially if you apply some of the posture principles. Now, of course, I don't have a perfect or proper British accent or anything, and a Brit would probably laugh me out of the room. It's definitely not consistent in any way either, but most Americans can put on something of a British accent, received pronunciation accent. Or something a bit more like Cockney, governor. That's a little harder to do. But if you realize that the British resonance tends to be in the front, the center of gravity seems to be a bit more pulled forward. The sound is pulled forward. The posture is a bit more forward, maybe a little bit higher. They still have the false tooth like we do, Tongue maybe is a little bit higher held in the mouth, but they resonate a lot up here. And if I just try to do that and try to sort of squeeze things a little bit forward, it does sort of help make me sound perhaps a little bit more British. I'm not doing a very good job of that right now. Obviously, the way that certain sounds are articulated is going to be a little bit different as well. That's part of the accent. Um, it's not just posture, but posture again is like 80 to 90% of everything. So, yeah. It's just, do you know what to do and can you do it? Can you do it is more a matter of practice, but knowing what to do is the thing. Is it only for the schwa sound? What about the rest of them? Yeah. So as I went through all the 10 steps, yes, we start with the schwa, and then it needs to be the same in every step. It's just you add resistance to, depending on what the sound is trying to pull on, you'll add resistance to it. So either no change in those steps in each step, or some resistance somewhere in those steps, depending on how the sound is trying to pull on the posture. We've come a long way from my initial posture live stream. My main problem is the bunched R and the ass sound. My tongue just isn't wide enough, or it doesn't do what I want it to do. Well, if you're talking about like into that's the thing. If you're talking about like an R colored you don't have to do that. You can just use the instead. Not everybody says ar. In fact, there's the Mary merger where we just say air all the time. But if you're talking about like rat, right? Again, you got to get the base posture, get the modification of the posture in the R, make sure the articulation of the R is good, and then you have to make the posture modification back into the center of gravity and posture structure while moving into the It's harder to do than just going right? But that's your first step. Try ra. If you can modify the posture in and out, get the articulation in and out, then you can try to go from to You can also apply the 1 through 4 plus 5 steps that we talked about. It's a little harder if you start in the R, but you can go make sure those pieces are the same in the and then when you go make sure those pieces are the same in the Again, the R will slightly modify and bend some pieces, so that's what makes it extra difficult, because it does actually modify the posture slightly. So you have to know what needs to change in the and then how to undo it as you release the Anyway, blah 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 blah. Da 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 things. You're a she. I didn't know that. Yes, I am a she now. Well, I've always been a she, but I am trans, and the purpose of this live stream is not to teach you English. It's actually to come out. For the purposes of you guys knowing and anybody who wants to work with me, because I'm going to be changing physically. I'm going to increasingly change maybe how I present myself, because it's very emotionally damaging to continue to present like a man day after day after day. So yes. Is doing voices a good way to speed up the accent journey? It can be, yeah. The more that you play with things, manipulate things, you're going to get better control, better awareness. It's doing voices won't give you an accent, but it might give you better control and insight into how certain pieces of the posture work. So if you're aware of the 1 through 10 steps, and especially like say the 6 and the 8 and like how the throat works, because a lot of voice work I think is like in the throat. There's like some in the tongue, obviously, like you can sort of shift some things around, but a lot of it to me is in the throat. So yeah, they can, as long as you're using like the knowledge of the posture, and to some extent articulation of sounds as a guide, in combination with it, then yeah. But it's not going to directly like give you the accent. It's just going to give you better insight and flexibility. How much does your course cost? So it's not a one set course. It's however many lessons you need is depending on the student. $48 an hour. Okay. On italki. So yeah, it's not like one big purchase of $5,000 or something like that. I admire your ability to speak for so long without notes or a script. I can really make it fast saying my name before getting stuck like a dumbass. Yeah, well, it's not something I enjoy. Not a very speaking person, especially when I hate my voice. It's easy to talk for as long as like my throat's actually starting to hurt. I definitely don't usually talk for 3 hours. This is insane. For as long as you know what you're talking about, that is true. And I do know what I'm talking about. Weird. I've had some questions I wanted to ask you, but I wasn't able to, unfortunately. But I can't remember any of them now. Of course. Where's my bestie Abdullah? I know, right? Where is Abdullah? Speak and he shall appear. I don't see him in the chat. Maybe he's just watching from the shadows. You can always leave comments. I'll try to monitor comments for this video after the stream for maybe a week or so. Respond to some things. But again, because I'm not very active on the channel, I'm worried about a lot of other things in life right now. I'm not going to respond to every single comment I see. Actually, can I ask you a question about accent stuff in DMs? Because I don't think I can ask you here. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can contact me on if you want to go through the Felicity Alexandria link tree. You can find me on Instagram or whatever, and just send me a message. That's fine. However you want to contact me. Email is not the best right now because I don't always get those emails. My phone doesn't always notify me. I understand everything. I just got to practice and repeat. Perfect. Awesome. Wait, what? Yes, Finn. Hello, Finn. Welcome, Finn. Finn is probably very confused being dropped into the live stream here. I rejoined just now. Someone tell me what I missed. Yeah, I don't know. Also, can I ask you a personal question? You moved to Oregon. I thought it was West Virginia for some reason. Did I publicly mention that? Before I when I still had my big beard and everything, and which was a denial beard, a very big denial beard. That's when I was struggling through all the trans acceptance and stuff. I did have a plan to move to West Virginia and get some land or whatever. So I may have mentioned that in a live stream. That's probably why. But yes, I moved to Oregon. What happens with your posture when you use a sound like the light L or N? Nothing changes in the posture. It's just articulation. The L is special because it has to narrow the tongue. No other sound does that. Our tongue is generally wide, especially in the middle. But the front half of the tongue is what narrows. The back half of the tongue keeps the posture. So you do still have to keep the front of your middle shape, but because of the L, it will sort of narrow the front part of the shape. It's hard to fully keep it in the L. It slightly almost breaks the posture, but you should still feel a little dip. It's almost like it does that through the middle when you do the L, just because you're narrowing the tongue. We can't really avoid that. In the N, everything's the same. There's no change at all. In again, you have to resist a little bit, but the shape and everything is exactly the same, just like for every other sound. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for the stream. You're welcome. Reading books out loud is a good way to strengthen pronunciation. It can be, but again, it's one tool. Okay. There's uses for that. Yes. Definitely do it all the time. Peace, I guess. Yes. Okay. What can we do to speak easily without thinking? We're at a time here. I'm gonna have to go in a few minutes. What can we do to speak easily without thinking and paying attention to what we say? We must to speak and read a lot, to be like our mother tongue. Yeah, so reading definitely helps, especially to get the language sort of running through your brain and getting used to the structures and stuff. Reading is very, very, very powerful. When it comes to pronunciation, reading can potentially be a little harmful. It's not that big of a deal, but you're constantly reading with your accent in your head. So it's better if maybe if you want to read, you actually read along to an audio, or you just listen to audiobooks. Your perception in your brain will still filter some things, but at least you're hearing a native voice, right? And you're going to get that voice into your head. There's little tricks to optimize. Yay. Okay, I should be live again. I didn't know there was a button where I could reconnect. That saved the stream. Good. Okay, now I can finish. As I was saying, if you read a lot, it's going to help with your grammar and your vocabulary, especially vocabulary. And it won't necessarily ruin your pronunciation, but it's not optimal. So I would, again, listen to lots of audio with the reading. Make sure you're focusing on your pronunciation, do your training, make sure you can hear the right sounds, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're specifically trying to work on your accent, reading a lot is not it's one tool that can help for holding posture and articulating at length, but it's not the best tool for actually improving the pronunciation itself. It's more for sustaining the pronunciation once you have a good base. And then again, you're reading, you're not even outputting, so it's going to have some positive effect maybe, but it could also have the negative effect if you're not listening. So You have to build muscle memory. That's the idea. You build the posture, you build the muscle memory, you learn how to articulate the sounds better, you build muscle memory for that. Pronunciation is not improved in um, in speaking. It can to some extent be improved. You can monitor a posture detail, monitor a sound, improve it slowly over time, but it's very clumsy. It's sort of inefficient, and some of that is a little unavoidable as you try to filter everything into your speech. But the main way that pronunciation is improved is direct, intentional practice, deliberate practice, going in and listening really closely, making little changes, feeling what you're doing, trying to hear subtle changes, trying to control things. Okay, it's going slow. Slow is fast, fast is slow. It's all built into my course. But um, yeah, you have to do a deep dive into pronunciation and try to stabilize everything, and then just get that held at a faster speed and a longer length. You just build from there. Is it okay to practice pronouncing words like your extra practice video silently? What do you think about it? I would say no. Number one, because pronunciation is not silent. So, but I get it. Like you're trying to like, okay, feel and like move things around. However, I know from personal experience that if I'm trying to mimic a student so that I can like better hear and feel what they're doing, usually my ears will just map it straight onto my vocal tract, but sometimes I'll try to sound like them and I can't, or I don't sound exactly the same. So I'm not always completely accurate because sometimes I can't get my muscles to move the way that they're moving their muscles or how they're holding their settings. But usually I do a pretty good job at mimicking. And I noticed that if like I'm listening to them and I'm just kind of like trying to silently mouth or feel things, and then I'm like, okay, let me try to mimic you. And then I try to do what I was feeling, it doesn't come out the same. So you always want to try to use the sound. Sound is king, silence is not. So feeling things is good, important, but it depends on how things sound. And even me with all the feeling that I have, and I can feel subdivisions of my tongue and all this crazy stuff, even me, if I don't hear it, if I don't try to produce it, I can't know for sure if I'm doing the right thing. Um, do you use the bunch R when you say in the word? So I have lessons on the R, bunch R, retroflex R. They don't matter. The only real difference between them is the front this way or is the front this way. That's not part of the R. The front of the tongue is not part of the R. Okay, it does slightly sort of pull and modify the front of the tongue compared to the normal posture. The R is in the middle. You don't have to worry about it. I do feel like most of the time I use the bunched R, but sometimes I feel like the front of my tongue is lifted up. It doesn't matter. It causes no difference. There's no difference between them. Okay. Technically, if you compare them directly, you might notice a little bit of a difference, but it's the range of the same sound. Like you're not going to suddenly be doing a different quality R. It's inconsequential. So don't worry about it. Will you take hormones? I am taking hormones. They're right here. And right here. One is estrogen, one reduces my testosterone, which I'm still not in range. It really pisses me off because my stupid my hormone doctor that I started with, that I had up until recently when I moved, he wanted to start me nice and slow and steady, which is fair. I get it, right? But he started me on like this tiny little dose, and then he increased it, and then he increased it, and like literally, like my body, like my testosterone kept falling, which is good. My last test in May, my testosterone was finally below 100, which it should be like 50 or lower. It was like 56. So it's like, okay, great. That's fine. That's working. That's good. Estrogen is supposed to be between 200 and 400. Last time I checked it, it was at 123, which is the highest that it's been. And it's just, that's one reason why I haven't seen the changes I want to see, because I'm not even in range. And it's just, it pisses me off so much. And I'm hoping as soon as I see my new doctor, I can just be like, hey, these are my numbers. Sure, give me a blood test, double check some things, but can I please get like an increase, or can I get injections, or can I do something, because this is driving me insane. Like I need to see some more changes for my mental health. So anyway, that's neither here or there. But yes, I've been transitioning for a year medically. Is asking questions about your journey. Okay. Yes, that's not a problem. I would, I have a whole other channel. I have a whole other, system network that I'm building for that. So maybe ask over there, because that's not the purpose here. And I'm running out of time here. Like literally in 5 minutes, I have a class, so I won't be able to answer anything right now, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I'm trying to be sort of an open book, because I want to. The whole purpose of me being so social and um, visible with it is to be like, hey, we're normal people. Like we suffer from this thing, but we're normal people. We're natural. We're not ill or anything like that. We're just normal people. So pretty much like if you ask me something and I'm like, I don't want to answer that, I'll just tell you I don't want to answer that. But feel free to ask pretty much anything you want, as long as you're doing it, respectfully and all that stuff. If you're not sure if it's respectful, be like, I don't know if this is respectful or not, but XYZ, you're at least trying to be respectful. That's fine. You don't got to walk on eggshells or anything, as long as you're being open, honest, you're trying to be, you know, respectful, in whatever way you can be. That's fine. That's all most of us ask. It's usually when people like intentionally misgender us or this, that, and sometimes it weighs on you. And like, it's because we're being misgendered constantly and we're not understood and we're tired of being called mentally ill and stuff. And then maybe we blow up on somebody because that's what we're constantly getting. And then we misread your question as malicious. Okay. That's, we want to be normalized. So yes, we're normal people. You can ask us about it. No different than any other, person, like it's fine. It's fine. Some of us trans people, we don't necessarily want to talk about it. So it is good to ask, hey, are you cool talking about this? Because some people want to keep it more private. But as long as you're being respectful, we won't get mad at you. You can kind of ask me anything you want. I don't really care. That's part of my purpose here. Muscle memory, yes. Really got to train my tongue. Okay, so I have to leave in like 3 minutes. So no more comments, guys. Sorry, I got to cut it off. You're getting off soon. Okay, good. Bunch jar is really my kryptonite. Retroflex I can do, but I don't want to do that. Well, then figure out how to do it. Sorry. Can't help you right now with that. I think we should start to talk in some ways, and in the long term, we are going to improve. Yes, you do need to work it into your speech, but it's not improved through the speech. You need to work it into your speech, and you practice it mostly outside of speech. Some benefit will happen in speech, obviously, but most of the gains are going to be outside of speech. Wait, what? Rear? What? In transition, do they remove male parts? Everybody's transition is different. Some people want to do that. Some people don't. They're all valid. Okay. I'm very scared of that surgery, but I can pretty much guarantee that at some point I am going to get it. Yeah, I may also get FFS, facial feminization surgery, at some point, because I think I have too many masculine features. It depends on what the estrogen does, but I have like this big ass forehead and everything, and I don't like that. So yeah, it depends on the person. There's also trans men as well, like female to male get surgeries as well. What's your other channel? Felicity Alexandria. God damn it, I keep having to paste the Linktree link. Pay attention. I know you weren't here earlier, but that's okay. I can keep pasting it. Felicity Alexandria. So it's Fee's Dreams. Okay. Have you seen South Park? Yes, I've seen South Park. They did a really good job on that episode. You will get there. There's someone who transitioned and said she was sick of it because she didn't say any changes for months. Her name is Mia Schuyler, and we had a podcast with a guy named Mia Schuyler. I'll look that up. Yeah, I know it takes time. It's not a slow thing. But then like I have like some other people I know that it's like literally like within 2 weeks they're just like, I already feel tenderness in my chest. And I'm like, I hate you, bitch. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so I definitely have to go. I have my class right now. Kind of went up to the last minute. Thank you guys for understanding. Again, anybody who wants to unsubscribe, fine, bye. I don't really want you as a subscriber anyway, honestly. And now you guys know. So yeah, I'll post content on here randomly when I feel that I can, but don't expect any regular content or anything anytime soon. I will try to do a cut of those 10 steps and post that as a separate video though for you guys, so you have that reference. I just played back the stream, found out what the big announcement is. Okay, well, good. I hope you approve, and if you don't, I don't really care. But if you do, that's really happy for you. Great, thank you very much. Yay. Always happy for the support. Okay, definitely got to go, guys. Thank you very much. Love you all. Mwah. You're all beautiful. You're all valid. And I will see you whenever I see you. I don't know. Okay, bye.